Sadly, this is a forsaken generation. Hear this well, we're not going away. Eyes are opening to the truth. We grow stronger in number as a united force every day. Babies are dying, parents left crying, told that SIDS or coincidence disorder are to blame, parents forced to live with the pain and shame. The once bright smiling faces full of wonder turned vacant stares, families shattered while they also endured the public glares. You're wiping out future generations for your own selfish gain as we form this revolution for liberation and change. We will keep speaking louder and louder. We will not be silenced until there's a shift in power. So stand up, speak out, be brave, be the voice of the voiceless. Too many forsaken lay in their graves. Welcome to Forsaken Generation.
There we go. Hopefully everybody can hear me now. All right.
Hello?
Okay, there we go. Sorry, everybody. My phone was messing up. My headphone must have come undone. You are listening to Forsaken Generation Radio Show. I am your host, Lynette Marie Barron. Hopefully we didn't lose everybody in that few seconds there. This is my buddy Anu Vaidya joining me, you guys, for Case of the Mondays. And you and I have been talking quite a bit about a lot of important topics in this, whole thing we've got going on here, and kind of been a little bit preaching at folks. And I don't preach it unless I'm already practicing it. So hopefully, people understand that and they realize that as we're talking to them, we're not just saying stuff. We are living it too. So.
Yeah, I mean, the past few shows that we've done, we've talked a lot about unity, and we've talked a lot about how coming together and, trying to find the common ground with someone you disagree with, and how to get to a point where you can actually move forward and do something together and solve a bigger problem that's more than just egos and things of that sort. So I feel like it's interesting, because the thing that I've been really struggling with lately is whether or not it's worth it to even be on social media anymore, because of the way things are going on social media. I had this thought, I've been having conversations with friends and stuff. Social media was supposed to be the thing that brought us together, and made it so that we all got together and started talking about things together. And oddly enough, it seems lately that people are spending more time fighting on social media than they are actually coming together on stuff. So it's an interesting dynamic.
Yep, I completely agree. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, I see it too. And one of the things that I had really hoped was that social media was going to be one of those things for us that we really were able to use as a tool and to our advantage. In some ways we are, but in other ways it's like you can do tons and tons of work and it, lead to a good thing. Small little changes lead to big things, but at the same time, one bad seed, it seems like you can spoil a lot of fruit real quick, if you stick that one in the bucket next to everything else. And, it's really just sad to watch. I mean, there's just been so much craziness going on social media. Actually, I've seen a lot of people who are deleting Facebook, like, from their mobile and just using it, checking it maybe once a day on their dashboard, on their regular computer or whatever, instead of even using mobile anymore.
I can tell you this. I'm pretty close to that right now. I'm getting to the point where I'm seriously considering deleting Facebook, because it seems to me that it's not providing the purpose that it originally had for me. Like, you know, I'm 34 years old, and so when Facebook first came out, like, I don't know if most people know this right now, but I think most of our audience probably knows, but if there's anybody that's younger that, you know, that's listening that doesn't know, when Facebook first came out, it wasn't just available to everybody. It was released, like, it was released slowly to certain schools, and it was like kind of like an exclusive, like, invitational type thing. And so when it came to our school, we got really excited. Because, like, wow. And then, you know, there was this whole years of, like, this rush of, like, oh, my God, I'm getting back into, you know, a connection with people that I knew a long time ago, that you know, there was all this, like, amazing stuff because you were able to connect with your friends, your families that you hadn't talked to in a long time. You can keep in contact with those people, and it was great. And then I don't know, like, what happened somewhere in between that and when companies started being like, okay, well, we're going to get on there now, and we're going to start doing marketing, and we're going to start doing those things, came this kind of, like, polarized place. And it feels like as time has gone on, people have gotten more and more divided on it. Because, you know, it ended up being this thing where you only see what you're agreeing with anyways. And so the once in a while where you see something you don't agree with, then everybody jumps on it. And people just fight with each other. So, I don't know.
You know what?
I'm pretty close on that.
Some people really frustrated me this week with stuff like that. You know, there are a lot of people out there doing their thing, you know, their own brand activism, whatever you want to call it, and you know, I have never, ever, ever, no matter what I agree with or disagree with, you know, gone and just jumped on their feed and just went crazy on their stuff. And, you know, especially if I thought it was something maybe they were excited about or, you know, whatever, or because some of it felt a little malicious and out of jealousy too. But it was just sad to me. It was like, you know, I'm seeing so much stuff going on, and I mean, we're trying to do positive things here. And the person I'm speaking of right now, you know, I don't name names, but they've been on my show, and I had people reach out to me about them and try to detour me from having them on my show, and I wouldn't hear it. Because that's just not who I am. You know, everybody deserves their chance to tell their story. And, you know, the only reason I even allow people to call in or to be a part of the bigger shows like this, like I did with Dell and people like that, is because how often do people get to talk to Dr. Andrew Wakefield? How often do we get to ask people like him and Dell our questions if we have one? Platforms like mine are nice for the people. I'm here for the people. So when someone goes and attacks you, you know, on, you know, here because, well, I wanted to interview them, but they wouldn't do mine, or I wanted to do, you know, whatever, and has negative things to say, it's like, you know what? I'm sorry, but that has nothing to do with me or what I'm doing here. And I approach things in a way with love and, you know, with kindness, and they agreed to do it. I didn't even have to try. Like, literally, I emailed and got a yes and set a date. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like this big horrific ordeal to try to get there. It was just trying to get the email was what took me so long. I just happened to get it from a friend of mine who'd done the show in the past. So, you know, I mean, it's so frustrating when you're working so hard out here and you've got so many people who are supposed to be for this and are supposed to be next to you doing these sort of things, and instead, you know, it turns out to be everybody's for their own personal gain, everybody's for their own personal self, but nobody's going to get anywhere like that. And if it's, you know, save the babies, I understand that. That's what I want to do too, but I don't want to just save the babies. I want to save the grown-ups. I want to save the elderly. I want to save every generation of suffering here.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what we're trying to do. And it's like, and then that's what I'm wondering is, at what point are we trying to use a platform that's not working, or at least that's not working very well, to get to that point. And you know, maybe I'm off base here, because maybe it is working very well. Maybe, you know, all these groups that start up, Facebook groups that start up, you know, where people are getting on there and talking to each other, maybe that is working. But from what I see on my feed and what I see on my friends' feeds and what I see my friends talking about what's going on in their friends' feed, on their personal feeds and on their friends' feeds, it just sounds like most people are just fed up with it. I mean, I was just in an Uber coming to work, and I was like right about to come on the show, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to ask this person what they think of Facebook, and I asked the Uber driver what she thought of Facebook and like if she uses it, and she was like in her early 30s, right? And I asked her what she thought, and she said, or like how she uses it, and she says she uses it to get into connection with her friends and families that isn't close by, to keep in contact with them once in a while, see what they're doing. And she says she doesn't really use it for anything else. And as a matter of fact, she's like, it's getting to the point where, you know, she connects with those people on a completely different platform as well. So it's almost become pointless to be on Facebook for her. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's gotten to the point where, well, those same people she's connecting with on things like WhatsApp and what's the other one, Marco Polo, and you know, like she's seen these other platforms that are way better for connecting, and so it's getting to the point where she's like, okay, maybe I should. I have tons of friends who've gotten rid of Facebook.
Well, and Facebook's also censoring really bad. You know, even like the Fund Me that you know, Jessica, you know, you guys put out there, like Facebook censor. I had people sending me picture after picture in my messages where Facebook was spamming it. And same with a lot of times with the radio show now, people will send me pictures of where Facebook will spam my event. And it's like, why would you allow someone to create a Facebook page and make events, and number one, then hinder how many people they're allowed to invite? Some weeks you can invite 50, some weeks 500, you know, 500, so it makes no sense. And then, you know, also when it gets shared, if it gets multiple shares, then they start slowing it down and they start, like, censoring it. And it doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, if people are interested in this and people want to hear it, I was surprised Wakefield's didn't get me blocked or something. When I put Dell's show up that we were going to be doing a show together, I immediately was blocked by Facebook for 2 weeks. I was not allowed to share on anything other than my own timeline. I was not allowed to comment on anything that wasn't one of my own pages that I had created myself. Like, I wasn't allowed to do anything for almost 2 weeks after I had announced the show with Dell. And I had to petition other warriors out there to share the show all over the groups that I usually share it to, because Facebook wouldn't allow me to do anything. So I was really, really surprised that didn't happen this week. But that's also why I waited until Friday night to drop the bomb that I was having him on, so that maybe it didn't give them much time to catch up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's what's troubling about this whole thing, right? And I've talked about this with people before, but it's like, there is a discussion going on in the tech world about whether or not, you know, things like search engine optimization is actually a good thing. Because what's happening is that you're getting this personalized feed, based on, you know, your kind of habits on the internet. And what you do, you know, what you do on Facebook, whatever, you know, what web searching that you're doing. And so you're getting this personalized feed or search results and things like that. And it's getting to the point where people are saying, well, if you're getting a personalized feed, isn't that just like parroting back to you what you already want to hear? Like, isn't that problematic? Like, imagine if you treated a human being that way, like someone you knew, right? And then the only time, like every time you responded to something they said, you just parroted back to them what they already know. Like, that wouldn't work. That would just be weird, right? Like, it would just be really weird. If I said, oh, my God, I really like ice cream, and then, like, Lynette just said back to me, yeah, you want some ice cream? Let me get you some ice cream. And I was like, no, I just said I like ice cream. And they're like, and then even after I said, no, I don't want any right now, you were still like, well, here's some stores you can look at to go get some ice cream. No, I really don't want ice cream. Okay, well, have you ever thought about buying stuff from ice cream stores? Here's some ice cream supplies. Like, if you just constantly came back at me with things just because I said I liked ice cream, I would stop listening to you. And that's kind of what's happening with Facebook. People are getting sick of the fact that it's just parroting back to me what I already said. And then it's creating the other problem, too, where you're only hearing what you think is true.
Yeah.
Right? You're not hearing.
I got to do something real quick, Anu.
Yeah, go ahead.
I got to do just real quick before I forget, because you know how my brain works. I want to give a shout-out to J.B. Handley and his book, How to End the Autism Epidemic. You can get your copy on Amazon.com for the as a pre-release or whatever. It'll be shipped, I believe, by the 19th. But they are doing Storm the Bookstores on September 20th at 6 and 7 p.m. I think there's some people doing it at 6 p.m., 7 p.m. I think everybody's supposed to be going live from the bookstores. I'll give you more information next week on this, but I just wanted to go ahead and let everybody know that this is happening. And to get your copy, I have already pre-ordered mine on Amazon. I do actually plan on ordering another one and donating it to my local library. So if you haven't thought of that before, please do so. I've probably donated 20 to 30 books on this topic to local libraries and cities around us. So just had to throw that out there real quick. Sorry.
No, that's really good. I mean, JB's book is great. There's a lot of people that are just, I mean, everybody that's read it. I just started it. Everybody that's read it is saying it's amazing, and this book is it's awesome. So if you're out there, man, go ahead and order this thing. It's going to change things because it the issues in a way that, like, I don't think it's been done before. So it's kind of awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving this, and I'm loving that they're, like, the way that they're promoting everything that they're doing, and there's so many people who are warriors in the movement. And for those listening in who don't know what we're referring to, we forget sometimes, but when we say the movement, we mean the medical health freedom and truth movement. And everybody out here that we say warriors, we mean all of us parents and other people out here fighting for our medical health freedom. And if you don't know that you should be, then go ahead and crack open some books with, look for the real science. Anything that's paid for by Big Pharma, you're going to want to go ahead and avoid. If you're looking for a starting point to learn about a lot of the stuff that's going on, listen into our show every week, and you can also find so much information through Dr. Suzanne Humphreys on YouTube, Dr. John Bergman. I mean, there's just so many people that have so much great information out there. And, and like they say in the age of information, ignorance is a choice. And I really do believe that because at some point, maybe you don't know, so it's hard to like open your eyes to it unless someone does help you. I mean, that's kind of the way it works. But I see so many people that I think, on the opposite end of this, that I think are they have to know because they hear us screaming so much for so long, and for them to still sit on the other side, I think that's when you realize the people who are doing it for the money and things of that nature.
Yeah. We forget sometimes that there's a possibility that there's someone signing on here that has no idea what we're talking about, that it's suddenly like a random show, right, that they come upon, and we're talking about things that, nobody's ever heard of before. But, if you're signing on, it's the first time you've ever heard what this show is about, or, you're signing on to the show for the first time, like, this is what we're doing. We're talking about things that are pertaining to medical health freedom. And we're talking about, we all, Lynette and I, we actually talk about a lot of, like, almost general universal stuff too. We talk a lot about that, don't we?
Yeah. Ways to make the world a better place. Not just. You and I have never just talked about the actual medical health freedom movement or anything like that. We have always had a very broad picture of the change that the world probably needs to see on a big scale. And it's funny because we really do talk about just about every topic and you know, I mean, just ways to make the world better. And I think it's funny because small-scale things really do make big differences, especially if so many people are doing those small-scale things. It's just so interesting to watch. Actually got told a couple of days ago that Lily and Jazzy's dad, you know, he's in the grocery store apparently and was getting butter, and some woman starts talking to him about the organic options in the store. And I was laughing when I heard this because, you know, people just can't escape you no matter what sometimes. It's kind of funny. But apparently he starts talking about, you know, yeah, they need to put more organic options. You know, a lot of people out there really are starting to turn to this, thankfully. And she said, well, yeah, I have a child with autism, and we're trying to recover them and detox them and things like that. And then she goes on to say there's actually a woman locally who makes products to help with that. So he says, yes, my daughter's mom makes stuff for our girls. And then she goes, well, this girl locally, her name is Lynette. She's got 2 injured little girls. And he was like, yep, that's their mom. And it just made me crack up, you know, because I was like, I mean, I talk to so many people. I go everywhere and try to put out this information that now it's literally like the little circle of, you know, our community is like running into each other of, oh, hey, I know who that is. So it's just kind of funny to me, you know, get out there and spread awareness, guys.
That's a really good sign. That's a really good sign that that's happening. And it's interesting that that's happening, like, in the physical world. Like, you know, those are the things we expect now to happen on Facebook, but it's happening, you know, it's happening in the physical world now. That's really awesome.
And
it's really quite
cool.
It's
a trip, and it's not the first time for me. And sometimes I don't even understand. It's like God, because the last person who found me locally doesn't even know me from locally. Like I'd never come to them, approached them in the past on this topic. They actually were a follower of mine through the radio show, What's Up, Margaret? And had like saw me in the grocery store, and she was like, I've seen you in here before. I thought that was you. We talked for like 45 minutes that day standing in the little Christmas part, you know, just getting to know each other. And it was just so funny because she didn't know me from anywhere else other than she had come across the radio show on Freedomizer and been listening ever since. And so you just never know. I mean, she found me in my local Walmart. I mean, you know, it's funny how the world works and how many people, you know, we really are waking people up. We really are touching lives. And like most of the people at any of the counters, at any of the checkouts, at any of the places where I go, they know who I am. They know what I stand for. They know what I do. I'll even, when I go through and I've got nothing but organic, they're like, oh, my goodness, you spend so much money to eat this way. And it's like, yes, but you have to. You keep demanding it, and then it gets cheaper because more and more people want it, and they have to keep, you know, I mean, it's just the way it works. And, you know, so, and Doritos now has an organic option. So I was like, wow, okay, you know, they're trying to catch up, you guys.
I mean, and it's, you know, it's going that way. I think what's happening is, you know, the more and more people are starting to, you know, buy organic and things like that. And then, and companies will start responding because they'll see that there's a market for it. Companies are not going to, here's the thing, you know, people say, why doesn't mainstream do this? Why don't these companies making this? Why aren't they doing that? You got to understand something about the mentality of any company. They're not going to go into a market, right? They're not going to go into a market that is unproven. They're just not going to. So when we ask for products that are healthier and blah, blah, blah and all this stuff, if they don't see people buying that stuff, they're not going to start making it. So the best way to do it is start buying the stuff that's good for you, buying the stuff that's healthy, buying the stuff that's good for the planet, things like that. Because companies follow the market. They're not the ones going, we'll just start a whole new thing and we'll create a new market for ourselves. I mean, it's very rarely that happens.
Right.
You know, there's an argument that we would be all driving electric cars by now, right? We would all be driving electric cars by now had there been a demand earlier on. But for the most part, people were like, well, I mean, you can still ask people now, right? Would they be interested in buying an electric car? And most people will say no. I mean, I can't afford one right now, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, here's the thing. Even the people that can afford it, a lot of them decide not to. You know what I mean? Because they have this thing like, oh, it doesn't work as well as a combustion engine vehicle. Companies, I mean, it's starting to come out more and more now because people are starting to buy more electric cars. But, you know, all this organic, I mean, I remember when Costco didn't have any organic stuff. You know?
Yeah.
I remember when
and I heard
and
all
Walmart,
these going all organic. Oh, I'm sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
My thing,
No.
Yeah, I heard they're going full organic, so that's exciting. I wish we could get more and more grocery stores to do that. I'd like to know, because it's hard for me to find these options, and you really do have to go, like, you can't go to your local Walmart. Like, I have to go way outside of my regular part of town in the country and go to the ritzier part of town where all the nice houses are and go to their Publix, and then you can find a lot of options. But, you know, if you're living in a smaller area or you're living in even a more you know, rural area or suburban area, whatever, you can't really get a lot of that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know, it's just weird. So, yeah, I mean, we go way out of our way and spend a lot of fuel, you know, just to be able to go get the better food. And it is expensive. You know, your cart's half full versus when you didn't know better, you'd fill the whole cart up and spend $300. Your cart is half full, and it's like, you know, $250. It's like, oh, my goodness, how are we going to make it? Y'all better make this stretch.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. It's definitely tough. I mean, it's still expensive, you know. It's still a little bit more, you know, expensive to eat that way, or quite a bit more expensive, I guess, to eat that way than, you know, trying to buy the least expensive stuff. And, you know, people could say, well, you know, then how are we supposed to do it? The thing is, you have to try to make it work. You have to try to make it work. It's one of those things where if you don't even try, then it's never going to get better. I mean, it's so easy to go to grocery stores and buy the cheapest stuff.
Yeah. Hey, buddy, we've got a caller on the line who wants to join in. We've got Jamie Lynn Malilo on the line. Let me see if we can get her
awesome,
a little.
Cool.
Yeah. Can you hear me, Jamie?
I can hear you, love.
Welcome to the show, my friend. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. And I am going by Jamie Lynn Juarez now. I did go back to keeping my children's names so we can have consistency.
All right. My bad, my friend.
Yeah, but I wanted to comment on the Facebook and people jumping off of Facebook, and then obviously some of the issues that we're seeing in our movement between certain individuals that are lacking the positivism and as opposed to the unite and conquer, the divide and conquer. So I think that we should all stay on Facebook, and we look at him like we look at Big Brother. We don't stop advocating for our children in all arenas, whether you're on the anti-vaccine or the delayed vaccine or the pro-vaccine. We need to advocate for our families and for our children and for the future generation. And even though Facebook will mess with our algorithms, I know I wouldn't know you, Lynette, without Facebook. Yeah. And I don't want the small people or the nonprofits or big people with big followings to stop, because I meet people like you. I've met guys like Jason Christoff and Hillary Simpson and Ashley Everly and all of these people that are in our movement. We wouldn't know each other without going on Facebook. And so looking at Facebook like Big Brother, we don't stop. We keep going.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Do we
really
abandon ship, or do we try to turn the ship around? That's kind of the same thought I was thinking, because for me, I know, you know, just so many people through my Facebook, you know, through the children's home or the church I grew up in or the high school and middle school I went to. I'm friends with so many of them that have woken up because of this or come to the realization of what's going on because of, you know, being on Facebook or Twitter or wherever. And so, I mean, I do get what you're saying. I think the hard part is, for us people out here really in the trenches, and I know Jamie's one of them too, when we're out here and we're busting our heinies and we've got next to nothing to our names. All three people talking right now have next to nothing to our names, and we're fighting and we're fighting and we're fighting anyway. It is hard to keep going when everybody out there that you expect better from and you really do hope better from acts a fool. And when one does that, it makes us all look bad, especially to these people who are just really coming into this. and are just starting to learn who to follow and who to pay attention to and what kind of message that you want to be putting out there. And then you've got all of these rifts going on, and I mean, it's some of the drama that's out there just shouldn't even have ever been put out there. I've had some drama brought to me recently. It's not all over social media because I handle my crap the way you're supposed to behind closed doors. And, with love and dignity. I mean, it's just, it's sad to me. Like, people, we don't have to do that to each other. We don't have to try to, number one, hurt each other. Number two, defamate each other's characters. And, it's sad to see. It's such, oh my goodness, it's just not where I'm at. That's why I said, when someone was saying stuff about the show today, every person I've ever had on my show, I don't care. I had so many people negative when I had Larry Cook on, things like that. So many people, who have their opinions. I'm not worried about your opinions. People have opinions about Chris Kirkhoff, Adam Ringel. Look, there's so many people who have done my show where people have messaged me and said, these aren't good people, or these people are this, or these people are that. That is not my place to make that judgment. It is not my place to say that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they come on, they tell their story. Whatever you got from that's what you got from that. Whatever they got from me, whatever I got from them, it's to me, I'm here to uplift people. I'm here to enlighten people. I'm here to help people out. And if I can do that for them that day, well, then good. Hopefully they help me do that for other people too. It's so sad to see that so many people, really do act a fool. There's a few people I really should have gotten rid of that I didn't because my heart's too big. And, but they're getting real close. They're getting, so close that I can't even see right now. Like, I'm at that point where it's like the lines are getting really, really blurry of friendship and I'm feeling attacked. So, it's overwhelming. I'm out here trying to do what I believe we're doing. I believe we're actually doing God's work. If you don't believe in God, then whatever you believe in, it gets you through to tomorrow. But that's what I personally believe. We are out here doing God's work. We are saving the human race. What better work could you be doing?
Well, the nice part about that too, Lynette, that I always think about is whether you believe, whatever your God is, whether it's Allah or it's Jesus or it's Hindu or it's Buddha or whatever ism you're going to get into, it really defaults back to doing the work for the children, for the next generation, and the kindergarten rule of if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. Or, when somebody hurts you, you kill them with kindness. You get more bees with honey than vinegar. And
that's right.
My personal story, I've been through that. I've been a nonprofit director. I've been in this industry for almost 20 years, and the hatred from other people is what drove me to insanity. It's and you have to speak for both sides because there is a balance between transparency and how you handle that transparency. There are a lot of people, and Anu, you said this earlier, there's egos in this. And I know because I had a big ego. I had 312 employees. I'm a clinician, behavior analyst. I own schools. I own mental health clinics. My stuff started getting hacked. My system started getting broken into. My home's broken into. Other parents stealing our program designs and going to start their own school. And my ego and my own lack of God, if you will, or whatever it be, got the best of me. And I learned my lesson, and that's why I tell my story with full transparency. But again, it's not the what you're saying, it's the how you're saying it. So if these nonprofits or individual people within our movement are having issues with each other, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Or just sometimes things are left better unsaid because this is about the next generation of our children. This is about spreading the truth to the people that don't know what we know, like the Andrew Wakefield. This is about, he's a perfect example of individuals like myself or the murdered, doctors and practitioners that are out there. You got to bounce back, and you got to do that with love. You got to do that with positivism. We got to keep spreading the truth, and don't let Big Brother of any platform, whether it's in your local community with your social services, with the medical kidnapping going on, if it's within Facebook and the algorithm suppressing our stuff, if it's people within the movement that are fighting, don't give up. Just keep killing them with kindness. That's my message to the world as we restart our nonprofit. We're taking a unite and conquer approach. If you have a nonprofit in New York, like Hillary Simpson, and she's got Crazy Mothers, our nonprofit's going to support you. And if you want to steal our colors, you want to steal our logos, go for it. That just means better branding for us. Let's share. But it really is about mindset. It really is about the focus.
I'm right there with you. I get so stressful watching all these people fighting over such silly little things too. It's mind blowing. It's like I really don't understand that everybody's not like us. Like, my brain just thinks everybody's like me, and they're out there and they're like, okay, how can I change the world? How can I bring this movement to it? You know what I mean? How do we get this thing moving full force? Like, this is how I think every day when I'm any waking hours I have, and I still even dream about the movement. You know, so it's like I just feel like everybody's doing that, and instead, when you hear people out there bickering and bickering, it almost like pushes me back in my chair, because it's like, what are you up to? Why are you doing this? Like, come on, I know you're smarter than that. Ay, ay, ay.
I honestly believe that the people that, you know, cause a stir, I don't feel like they're doing it because they have some kind of malicious intent. I think that they truly believe wholeheartedly, and this is purely my opinion, of course, you know, but I honestly believe that they believe that their way of fixing this problem is the only way to fix it. And so anybody who's doing anything else is a detriment to the movement. And so they feel like it's their duty to call other people out and put other people on blast and attack them, because they feel like, well, these are, you know what I mean? Like, because that's what it seems like to me. I don't think these people have, like, personal issues with these people. It's just that they feel that they're so right that the other people are wrong, and therefore the other people are actually a detriment. And then somehow they feel like if they spend their time bringing those other people down, that somehow that lifts them up or lifts their
Isn't
cause
that
up.
ironic, though? You're exactly right, Noodle, but isn't that ironic? Because that is exactly what the vaccine movement does.
It's ridiculous, is what it is. I mean, it's flat out stupid. If you think that's, I mean, you know, I'm done holding back like how I feel about this. It's just stupid. Stop it. It's the most ridiculous thing. You know, we went around on the bus, we went around on this tour, and we met all these different, you know, organizations and stuff like that. And, you know, we didn't talk about this that much when we were live, but the background, the backdoor fighting between different organizations and different people based on, you know, like Jamie said, you just said it, like the egos and stuff like that. It's so tiresome. It's so ridiculous, you guys. It's so, and I'm going to say this right now, it's pathetic. Like, if you're spending your time getting butthurt because someone else is not doing the thing you think is going to solve everything, like, get over yourself. Like, quite frankly, nobody cares how you feel. We're trying to do something bigger than that.
Can I also address, and I love that you're being candid, because I'm just going to be candid too.
Right.
There is an element of
that's what this show is about, folks.
Okay, well, there is an element of profit. You know, there is an element of, not only is it their ego, you know, nonprofits and sustainability is such an issue. So in addition to ego, you also have, you're chasing a client. If I had my business hat on, you're looking for revenue sources from these families. And so when your drive is coming from the profitability piece, you got to look at the truth behind that, because there's legitimacy to needing money and to needing to have money to sustain your mission and whatnot. But at the cost of being angry and using your emotional state to attack and divide as opposed to unite is where the issue comes in. Because to have that, you have to, we're all trying to survive. You know, we're all trying to provide for our families, for our business. And at the same time, when you enter this movement, another piece is we struggle ourselves with mental illness. Many of us parents, we have, those of us especially that have the children and we're in the movement, there's people that are in the movement, as we know, that do not have children you know, dealing with this issue, and they're in it for whatever reason, benevolent or not. I would rather have people that don't have children in the movement than out. Please come, because that's unite and conquer. But for families like us, I went through mental health issues. I wanted to kill myself. I talk candidly all the time about having a gun in my mouth and wanting to shoot myself, because this movement had destroyed my family, had destroyed my business from other people with their own egos and their own money-driven profit and their own prioritizing their family instead of the greater dynamics of humanity. Those are real issues too. So when you see some of these people fighting, for myself as a psychologist and a clinically trained MFT who's been down that road of wanting to kill myself and not having my children and going to drugs and alcohol and pharmaceutical issues to try and cope with it, so I agree with you. I feel bad for them sometimes. So I think it's a multitude of those combinations of the ego, the drive, where is your true motivation for financial sustainability? Is it for yourself? Is it for the nonprofit? Is it for the movement? As well as that they're struggling with their own mental health issues. So that's my summary, and thanks for listening.
No, I'm really happy, Jamie, that you brought that part of this whole thing up, because here's the thing, and you know, Lynette and I have talked about this as well, is that, you know, there's this idea that somehow the people that are visible, right, in this movement, the ones that, you know, the ones that do radio shows, the ones that do Facebook shows and things like that, those of us who seem to be in the visible, like, there's this idea that somehow we're all just living in the lap of luxury, right? Like, all this stuff. Which is
I didn't mean to laugh, but damn.
No, but it's funny. It's funny, right?
It is funny, ain't it?
Here's the thing. Yeah, here's the thing. There are people who are living in the lap of luxury, and they are benefiting off of the community and what it kind of like generates in terms of a some sort of an industry, right?
Right.
That being said, what Jamie said is so true. Obviously, there's going to be people that are motivated by that kind of profitability. And that, I'm so glad she brought that up, because it's like such a taboo subject in the community. And you know, but that is also another source of contention for some people, because, like, you know, you'll see people get on Facebook Live, or they'll make videos where they'll bash other people because they feel that they are only doing this for money or something like that, right?
Right.
And I'm not saying that there isn't any legitimacy to some of those accusations. I'm just saying that, you know, it's easy to throw darts at people you know nothing about. And it's also easy to throw darts at people you think you know something about. I've been accused of all sorts of things, right? Like, I don't have an injured child. I don't have what, you know, most people in the community would, you know, designate as skin in the game, right? Even though I still argue that we all have skin in the game. And if you think that everybody doesn't have skin in the game, and just because you don't have an injured child, you don't have skin in the game, that you don't understand how big the problem is.
If you're a human, you have skin in the game. You've been vaccinated. Maybe if you have children, you've got nieces and nephews and grandchildren. This is crap. Everybody's skin in the game. You're exactly right.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing. Like, I've had people accuse me, because I, quote, don't have skin in the game, for being like, oh, well, he's only in this because he's making money working for these people doing this stuff. I'm going to say something right now that I haven't said before, and I want everybody to listen very closely. Quote me if you want, okay? And if you can't, and it's too bad it's radio, you can't see my face, because I've got a stern face on right now. But I'm going to say
we can
this,
handle that easily with a
proud.
Facebook Live.
Yeah. Check this out. I could be making easily double what I make right now. Easily. If I just went to the private sector and I didn't care about this issue. Easy.
Right.
Okay? I live in a studio apartment that is essentially a garage turned into a studio apartment. Okay? I can reach every part of my little studio apartment by just reaching and leaning and touching it. Okay, I literally can do that. I dilute my dishwashing soap. I dilute my hand washing soap. Okay, I reuse my yogurt container as a soap dish. Like
Right.
you guys, you need to understand, if you're going to be throwing darts, know what you're talking about, because trust me, you have no clue. You have no clue.
Can I say something really quick, Anu? I want to say this. As a clinician, as an entrepreneur, as a philanthropist, all of those credentials and resume behind my name, I had 312 employees. Do you know how many of them had children on the spectrum or were in the game? None. Zero.
Wow.
So I never walked around my clinics and my schools, or even now my marketing company that helps, pay my little rent while I rebuild what I started and was shut down from being accused of schizophrenia and bipolar. None. I never walked around those going, you can't work for me. You don't have any skin in the game. Oh, you can't do that. You don't have a child on the spectrum. Hell no. We welcome people like you. That's the mindset. That's that problem behind whatever's going on in your own life that you're throwing darts at somebody else. I don't care if you have a child on the spectrum. People go to graduate school to be behavior analysts and clinicians or videographers or whatever you want to go to school to be because you want to help people. End of story.
If I could go back in time, I think I would like to have been, well, I guess if I didn't look the way I do, I would have liked to have been a doctor, but one who knows what we know. But because I just love how the human body works and learning about it and things like that. But I also love being able to actually help people. And, when I've had people in the past call me a shill or make really rude things about me. I've even had people, share my business and in troll pages and things. People will share my business and make fun of my detox stuff. People will say that I'm only in it to make money. And I'm like, do you guys understand that we're barely making it? When I went to ASIP last time, if it hadn't have been for my buddy in Australia, you know who you are, I love you, I wouldn't have had anything the following week, but I knew I had to go. In my heart, I knew that's where I needed to go. And so I did, and I prayed about it, and I was like, God, make sure I make it through, because I know I'm supposed to be doing this. And so, it's really hard when people think things. Shoot, we give away so much free stuff. We send out so much stuff. I can even tell you the number of people who have messaged me and said, I really need to detox my child, but I can't afford anything right now, and I've sent them something for free so many times it's not funny, way of course at my cost, and, it's not cheap to do this or to ship it for free, but I love people, and I love their children, and I want to make sure that they get what they need to help them get on, the path of, getting recovered. And, the stories that I get, I was telling Anu, people would probably look at my feed and think I'm some kind of weirdo because I've got more pictures and videos of kids in bathtubs than probably anybody, because parents are so excited when their kids are talking or they're, they're splashing around in there and enjoying it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, my Lord, because, I get videos, my friend Rita, she sends me videos of Noah in the tub all going crazy in there, and it's so funny because it's like my heart skips. I love it so much. It's just so nice to hear my child step through their first haircut without pitching a fit after using this, or my child did this, or my child started saying words, or this, and I'm like, these are the same things that happened when I started making this for my own kids. It's why I actually changed my whole business around and started offering it to other people. And, so it is hurtful when you're working so hard to try to help other people. We don't sleep sometimes, especially now that we brought bath bombs back. That's why we had to stop doing them in the past, was because we were selling so many around the world, we couldn't keep up. We literally couldn't keep up. And I couldn't find help locally, so I had to X them off the, it was something everybody wanted, and I couldn't keep enough in stock. And, so, I'm at the point where, if it booms again like it was last time, we just have to bring in help because we want to be able to keep helping people. We give away stickers with everything. We give away free products with stuff. We're always working hard to help other people out. So you guys need to, if you're out there and you're always judging somebody, please, number one, take a look at yourself before you ever try to pass judgment on anybody else. And number two, get to know somebody. This is something that happened last week with me and somebody else in the movement. Someone tried to cause a rift between me and somebody. I won't mention names, but somebody I actually care about and respect very dearly. And it really upset me because some of the things people come up with are pretty creative. And you know, I mean, you can really make somebody's feelings hurt, and you know, if you just get to know somebody's character and pay attention to them, you can learn a lot about somebody. You know, Jamie, I know Jamie's been through some rough times, and you know, I've reached out to her before when I could tell she was having a rough time, and I'm glad I was able to be there for her, and she's been there for me. I mean, you know, I know Anu's been there for me through some really rough times, and I knew, you know, when he was down and he had his wreck, and I knew he was probably needing some good words every day, I would try to keep up and make sure he was doing okay. I mean, we all have to be there for each other. That's the way this works. We have to keep each other going.
We really do. I mean, we really need to understand. It's like, just because you see something, you know, bringing it back to like Facebook here, right? Just because you see something on Facebook, you don't. Just remember, you don't have the entire picture. You really don't. And I'll say this one more time. It's not that I don't think that there's any legitimacy to some people maybe taking advantage of the movement. I think, you know, Lynette, Jamie, you guys will both, you know, we both, all three of us know that there are some people probably taking advantage. I mean, that's bound to happen, right? That being said, just because you see something on Facebook, be very careful. Be very careful about throwing out accusations, because you don't know what's really happening. You have no idea what's really happening behind the scenes. There's, you know, Lynette, Jamie, you know, they've gone out and helped people, and there's been a lot of, you know, a lot of helping people without asking for anything back. You don't hear about this stuff. This stuff doesn't get on Facebook, right? This stuff doesn't end up on the feed. There's no advertisement there. So maybe you think that this stuff isn't happening, but it's happening.
Right.
You have no idea. Like I spend a lot of my free time being contacted by people in the movement looking for help in the way that I can help them with tech and stuff like that. But that you never hear about that stuff. You know, I spend a lot of time helping other people, but you never hear about that stuff. And it's not because it's not because, you know, and I'm not like bragging or anything like that. What I'm trying to tell you is you don't have the full picture. And when you go around attacking people, you're not doing anybody any good. And that's you know, to really bring this back to what my personal issue is with things like social media and things like Facebook in general, is that people are only seeing the highlights, right? They're not seeing the true they're not seeing the full picture. And you know, I'm kind of struggling, because Jamie makes a really good point, right? Like that she was able to find you, Lynette, and she was able to find other people in the community because of Facebook. And part of me is like, dang, I can't let go of that, right? Like I've met amazing people through Facebook because of Facebook. But it's interesting because my interaction on Facebook, on those people that I've met, has less to do with the feed and more to do with Messenger now.
Yeah.
Could I say,
you see what I'm saying?
One more thing before we go? So if I could say one more thing, because this is regarding, you know, like Andrew Wakefield, and this is just to bring home everything you guys are talking about. I met Andy Wakefield almost 15 years ago when Dominic was first injured at a TACA event. Jenny McCarthy hadn't come on scene. JB Hasley, their kids are behind my son, who's 18. We were so excited then when Wakefield had came into our movement, and another doctor named John Martin from the CDC who had also whistleblew. He was actually the original whistleblower that nobody knows about. And he was going over to the Thoughtful House, and they were starting their stuff in Texas. And then the raid happened. And we all went, holy shit, what is, you know, you're right. People don't know the behind the scenes. People don't know how happy mothers and professionals like me are to see guys like Andrew Wakefield come back essentially from the dead. You destroy somebody's career. You take away their right to improve upon the movement when we know that this is happening. This is me speaking as a mother. And I would have never known about Vaxagen if it wasn't for Facebook. Somebody messaged me, hey, they're having an open. I'm like, what's that? So Andrew Wakefield, he's a prime example of people that you don't know what's happening behind the scenes. You want to stay on top of social media because this type of information is coming out there. J.B. Hadley and his partner, Jenny McCarthy, Generation Rescue. Most people don't even know what Generation Rescue is. They're like, what's Generation Rescue? You ask them what talk is.
That's
They're like,
really
what's
unfortunate.
Talk? Yeah, you've got all of these, but there's also, people need to remember, you don't know what's happening behind the scene, whether you have a kid in the game, you don't have a kid in the game. People are gearing up. Even myself, with our nonprofit and our launch happening next week with Brittany Cara, who's joined our board, you don't realize, like you said, Anu, the day in and the day out, from the moment I wake up in the morning until the moment I go to bed, just like all of these other people, we are living and breathing this stuff every day because we're gearing up for a bigger movement. And that's how I want to end this. And thank you, Lynette, and thank you, Anu. You guys are awesome, is that we are going to win this.
You're awesome, Jamie. Thank you.
20 years. We are gonna win this, and if we don't this year or 5 years, I have 50 years of my life to prove what these people did to my kids and what they've done to my patients and my students and to people like me who fight. They bankrupt us, they kill us, they accuse us of fraud, they accuse us of being crazy. They're not gonna win. We will win this, whether it's this year, it's 5 years, or 10 years. This movement is powerful. It's moving in the direction we need it to go, so don't ever give up. Whether you're in the game for your own purpose or not, it doesn't matter. Just be on our side of the fence.
Beware of people who are fighting for truth and love, because they will never, ever stop.
Yeah, that's right.
We have nothing to lose. We have nothing to lose.
My son's dad showed me some of the ignorance that is with, with what people know about Wakefield too, because, he said there was 12 other scientists on that study, and every one of them went against what he said and disagreed with him and said he was wrong, and, had no idea what really happened. And there's so many people out there who all they do is punch his name in Google, read the first bad article about him, and they believe that, and that's just the end of it in their mind. And that's one of the reasons why I knew you got what I put when I put the OG Dr. Andrew Wakefield, but I don't know if everybody got that, but it's the original gangster, because, you know what, I have a sense of humor, but I just thought he really is the original gangster, the OG of this movement, and I'm so excited he's about to be joining me. So, it's really interesting. I've been doing the show almost 2 years, and I've had some really amazing people on the show. And, Brian Hooker, that interview, I was so nervous because, it was Brian Hooker, and it was just such an amazing interview. Some of the ones I think I'm the most nervous about are usually my best interviews, because you see these people as almost larger than life, and then you speak to them and you realize they're human beings just like you, and their heart's in the same place as yours, and it really does make it easier, and just kind of helps it flow. We've got a lot of parents who have got a lot of questions too, so we're going to get to a quick commercial break. Anu, do you have anything you want to say before we wrap this up real quick?
Yeah, I'm just going to say one last thing before you go to a commercial break and you go interview Andy. Say hi to him for me. It's been a long time since I've seen him, but I just have one last thing to say. It's very rare that you can get your mind changed so quickly, but after listening to Jamie and having this conversation right now, having this conversation today, I actually, you know what, I'm kind of reinvigorated. She had a great idea. Instead of letting Big Brother change the way you use the platform, reform it. That idea.
That's right.
Like maybe I should figure out a way where I can take back the control of my Facebook and use it for what I really want to use it, and figure out a way to use it the way I really want to use it, instead of letting it bombard me with crap that I don't want to see.
Yeah. And empower other people to do the same.
I hope everybody that listened to today's show got a little bit of medicine, got a little bit of laughter, and got a little bit of love. So thank you for having me on again, Lynette. It's always great to do this every morning. I hope you have a great interview with Andy. Love you. Talk to you later.
Yes, sir. Love you too. All right, you guys, we're going to get to a quick commercial break, and then we are going to be on with the OG, the original gangster, Dr. Andrew Wakefield. I am so excited, you guys. So just hang in there by the seat of your britches, because we will be right back.
Call in our live number at 319-527-6208. That's 319-527-6208. Press 1 to participate on the air.
You're an activist. You have a cause and an idea. but you also have lots of questions. You need help. After all, teams have coaches, corporations have consultants, and even politicians have campaign managers. But who do activists turn to? The Solutions Institute. We are a collection of professionals and activists from across the political spectrum. Our goal is to teach, motivate, and put all the necessary tools for activism in your hands without charge. Learn more or submit your project at solutions-institute.org. You're an activist. You have a cause.
Vaccines are required for students, employees, immigrants, military members, and international travel. Do you know how to legally avoid them? This is vaccine rights attorney and Freedomizer radio host Alan Phillips. My vaccine exemption ebook can help you avoid the mistakes that have cost others their exemption rights. Get the authoritative guide to vaccine legal exemptions, an ebook available at freedomizerradio.com and vaccinerights.com.
Let freedom ring throughout the land.
Get ready for the epic new documentary adventure ride of your life. Shade the motion picture. A view into the globalist domain and embellish and Burma's film.
Nothing in this world works the way you think it does. Nothing. Governments do not operate the way you think they do. Banks do not do what you think they do. The police department is not here for what you think it is. Nothing in your world works the way you think it does.
We have to let them know that their world government has been identified, and they thought they'd include the world economy to bring in a worldwide police state, but instead it's going to bring them down.
You have to stand up, speak up, speak out.
Shade the motion picture. Order your copy of the DVD today at shadethemotionpicture.com.
All right, everybody, we are back. You are listening to Forsaken Generation Radio Show. I am your host, Lynette Marie Barron, and I am so excited because we have Dr. Andrew Wakefield on with me today. Can you hear me, Dr. Wakefield?
I can.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the show. I am so excited to have you. Thank you for making time for me today.
My pleasure. It's great to be with you.
Well, I'm not sure if you know who I am or anything about me, but I've been out here fighting for this for almost 3 years since, both of my little girls are injured, actually, and it's definitely been one heck of a fight, and I'm just so appreciative to you. I just want to get that out there right now and say I'm so honored to have you, and thank you for having the courage to do what you did. I know that I think that maybe when you first started out in the path you were on, maybe you didn't realize where it was going to take you. But I know that I'm in unison with a lot of people out here who really, really appreciate you. I called you the OG, the original gangster of the medical health freedom movement, because I really do believe that's kind of your position here.
Yes, thank you. I've been called a lot of things, but never a gangster, so that's a new one. Thank you.
I mean it with love and respect, I promise.
No, I appreciate that.
Well, we have got so many parents who have, been through the ringer because of vaccines and the damage that they have done to their children, and not just the MMR. I do believe that many vaccinations do contribute to this because, like, my daughter has severe autism, and she never received an MMR. Actually, I was given the Tdap while 26 weeks pregnant with her, so I believe that maybe that was played a huge role for her. But there's just so many different ways that this happens to children, and it's just crazy to see. But we've got a lot of parents who really love you, and I've got one on the line, and I'm going to let her come in and ask you a question if you don't mind. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Can you go ahead and just state your name?
Hey, this is Amber Smith.
Hey, Amber. Welcome to the show. What is your question for Dr. Wakefield?
First off, I just want to say, Lynette, you are amazing. I love you. I just started listening to your show recently, but I connect with you so much, so I just want to say thank you for everything that you do. And Dr. Wakefield, I am super nervous right now. I feel like a little kid on Christmas seeing Santa. It is a pleasure and an absolute privilege to be able to talk to you today. and I had a dozen questions running around in my mind what I wanted to ask you, but I think after everything, like with all the criticism and ridicule that you've been subjected to, I'm just kind of curious, what's the biggest thing that you've taken away from this journey?
Wow. Well, first of all, I mean, in terms of dealing with the criticism, people ask me this a lot because there clearly there have been all kinds of allegations that I'm in prison, that I've confessed to my sins, that I should be hung, that all kinds of things get said. But, you know, the truth is that when you come to realize, the key thing to realize is it's not about me. Now, they like to dress it up as though it's about me and make me sort of front and center as the bad guy. But they do that because it's all they've got. When it comes down to legitimate discussion of vaccine safety and parental concerns and the science, then their arguments fall flat. And so they they start off with the notion that this is all criminally insane and was based upon a fraud, which it was most certainly was not, and that it's my fault and that I've led this anti-vaccine campaign, none of which is true. But it makes it very much easier for them to articulate their simplistic arguments in that way. And but for me, the realization very early on that it was actually not about me at all, it was about something far more important. And I was merely being used as a scapegoat, if you like, by the other side for their absence of science and their absence of any desire to sit down and discuss this, debate this issue sensibly, which continues to this day. So once you realize that it's not about you, it's very much easier to deal with it and get on with what is important. And so I think that's the single most important message that I take away from it. These people don't know me; they have no idea really who I am. So they contrive this personality, this alter ego, which they then use in their fake narratives to try and win back the hearts and minds of the American public. It's too late. That's lost. It's gone. Yeah. And what makes them so angry and so frustrated, particularly at the moment, is that they are losing. And the first time, I've been in this for 25 years, the first time in that 25 years, over the last sort of 3 or 4 years, everything's turned around. We're now on the offensive, and they are on the back foot. They've no idea what to do. They've never been in this position before, and they get more and more angry. And when they get angry, they resort to, more profanity, more insults. But it doesn't help at all. It doesn't move the argument forward. So I'm very encouraged, somewhat strangely, by that we are actually making a huge impact, and the truth will eventually come out.
Yep, I agree. Yeah. I 100% agree.
Most definitely. And I think that the way you've handled all of this, and like you said, just being pegged as that scapegoat, I think the way you've handled it with such class is really admirable. So not a lot of people could take that in stride, as it seems that you have. I watched your documentary, the Pathological Optimist, so it was great. Definitely an eye opener into more of your story and your side of what things were and how you saw things.
Thank you.
So again, just thank you so much for everything that you do and just bringing light to the situation. And I purchased Vax pretty much right when it came out, and it just started me on this journey, and it's a roller coaster that I'm never getting off.
Good for you.
I'll bring you on. Hold on 1 second. Let me bring you on. All right, sorry. We've got another caller on the line, guys, so I'm going to bring her on now. Sorry, we're probably going to blow up a little bit because everybody loves you, Dr. Wakefield.
Unmuted?
All right. There you are. You're here. All right.
Okay.
Go ahead. You can introduce yourself, and then you can ask your question if you like.
Okay. My name is Carmen, and my question is a small background is my child is 14, has had chronic constipation since age 1, has been taking a daily Miralax for almost 10 years. Body seems to be very addicted to it because anytime the dose is I tried to get him off of it, small amounts removed from the daily dose, we run into trouble a couple of days later. If by chance we absolutely forget the dose, then we're in trouble 1-2 days later. So I'm following. This year I started following a protocol that's in a book called Cure Your Child with Food. In it, it says to add L-carnitine. It's an amino acid. Titrate that up while you titrate down the Miralax. Now, this is working. It's been a slow process, but it's working. And we're not completely off, but we're within, we're under 2 teaspoons now of the Miralax, so we're doing really good. My question is, does this, we also do gluten-free, dairy-free, not an autistic child, but, has other issues. Extremely thin, always has been extremely thin, very low body weight. My question, and we've addressed micronutrient deficiencies that he had off of a blood test. So my question is, if the L-carnitine is working, or clearly his body needs this or is responding to this, is that an indication of something else that I should be looking at, or, is just doing this fine? I don't know. I just was hoping that, or wanting to know, should I be looking at something else? Could this push me into something else?
Well, the answer is yes. Now, it's not my place to give medical advice, but I can refer you to someone who can. Just answer me this: you say your son is 14? Is that right?
Yes.
Right. And is he on the sort of lower end of the centile charts in terms of
always has been
linear height?
Yes, always has been smaller for his age, and his height has been smaller. He's fallen off the growth charts.
He's fallen off. Okay. I think the important thing is that kind of observation is important, particularly at this stage, as children enter puberty. They have a certain sort of growth potential, and if they're not healthy during puberty, then often they won't achieve their optimal adult height. So now is a critical time, and
we have noticed that he's grown over the summer. So I'm trying to do everything I can to get him there.
Yeah, and the carnitine issue may be extremely important. The person I would recommend, I don't know where you are, but there is a gastroenterologist, Dr. Arthur Krigsman, who is perhaps the world's expert in this area in terms of dealing with children with particularly neurodevelopmental disorders. That doesn't apply to your son, but constipation is a very, very common problem amongst children with autism in particular. What that means is that he's developed ways of dealing with it which are very effective, and certainly investigating it to rule out whether there's something else going on that might be amenable to treatment. Certainly sounds from the response to carnitine as though there may be something certainly that can be investigated and put right. But now would be the critical time to do that as he's at this particular age. But it is, constipation is the most in children is the most difficult problem to deal with for gastroenterologists. And you have my deepest sympathy, but I think that now is the time to act. So if you do get an opportunity, I'm very happy to leave the contact details with our host so that you can make contact with Dr. Krigsman if that's what you would like to do.
I appreciate it. And quite honestly, we've had an interview with Dr. Krigsman. Unfortunately, the other half of me did not want to pursue that area. So, there was, I don't know. I'm just desperately trying to grab at anything because, went through the entire initial consultation with all the test run and everything like that. with Dr. Krigsman, but then the ball was in our court to pursue it, and my other half won't do it.
Right. Okay.
So any book, yeah. any books or anything I could read, any material I could look at. I don't know.
There may well be.
I mean,
I can't put my hands on it at the moment because I've kind of moved into filmmaking, so I've been out of the research arena for a little while now. But if anything comes to mind, or I do come across it, then I'll certainly send it in to our host, and you can obtain it from the show.
I appreciate it so much. So much. I love your. I appreciate everything you've done. Thank you so much for all that you've gone through to make this aware.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think GI issues are some of the worst things, for a lot of us parents with children who are affected. For my daughter, she'll be 3 this month, and we call it poop and pellets because she cannot have a regular bowel movement, even with magnesium and what all the different things we do for her. It's virtually impossible for her to have a normal bowel movement. Gluten-free, dairy-free, casein-free, all those kind of things. But it's just, I don't know what it is. It's those poor little guts, and when she finally does use the restroom, it smells like an electrical fire. I mean, it's one of the worst smells you've ever smelled. It's like, how is all this coming out of this tiny child? And she's the same way. She's very lean, very little muscle to her at all. A little bit larger of a head that's kind of misshapen, and then she's absolutely gorgeous. She looks like an angel, but she's actually very tall. She's 6 inches taller than the average child her age, so she's really tall. But she just has such bad stomach problems. We actually have to put her in the shower up to 3 times a day and keep her in the warm water just to help soothe her. Up next, we actually have Tia Severino from Atlanta calling in, one of my warrior buddies. Tia, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Welcome to the show.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me on. Good to hear your voice again, Dr. Wakefield.
Yeah, how are you? Good to hear you.
I always enjoy listening to you. I got a question for you. Well, I got a little, I guess you could call it a series of 3 questions. I think I already know the answer to these questions, but I would just love to give you a chance to put it on the record. People have been saying, it seems like you can't win. You got the pro-vaxxers hate you and the abolitionists hate you too. So you're not loved by anyone, it seems, on either end of the extremism on the vaccine issue. But I've been hearing ever since Vaxxed came out that Andy Wakefield is pro-vaccine because the movie Vaxxed calls for the breaking up of the MMR, and because of the conversation about whether or not we should have safe vaccines for people who just no matter what we do are going to insist on vaccinating. And so I wanted to see if you would just, for the record, could you please explain the reasoning? I already know the answer to this. You're probably tired of saying it over and over again, but the reasoning behind splitting up the MMR in the movie Vax, and also can you please state what your feelings are as far as, do you believe vaccines can ever be made safe? If they came out with vaccines that were safe, would you be for mandating vaccines? And would you ever vaccinate your children?
Right. Okay. So, Vax
big chunk
covered
of stuff
issues.
there. Right?
No, that's right. No. The film Vax covered issues that happened around 1998. And the point that was made in Vaxxed by me is that at that time in 1998 and the years that led up to it, when we started seeing these children, I heard the parents' story of their regression, their children's regression after MMR. And so I did a great deal of investigation into the pre-licensing studies and the safety studies of measles-containing vaccines, including MMR. One thing that struck me was that reports from around the world, certainly I was not the first. Cindy Goldenberg in California was the first to report regression and autism following MMR in her son. I made the recommendation that it was the triple vaccine, at least until proven otherwise, that was problematic. Because I think when I left the Royal Free, we'd seen about 180 children with this syndrome, and only one of them had suffered regression following the single vaccine, given at 6 months and then again at 12 months. So my recommendation at the time was that the parents should opt for the single vaccines and not MMR. That was what was conveyed in facts. Now, does that represent my contemporaneous view of the situation? No, it doesn't. Why? Because in the meantime, I've learned a great deal. When I went to testify before Congress in 1991, I started learning about thimerosal. And I thought, well, no one would put mercury in vaccines. That would be insane. And of course, there it was. And then aluminum. And all of this led me to realize that it is far more complex than just MMR. And then you have situations where children regress or develop autism following other exposures. A child never had MMR or regressed before MMR, or the mother was exposed to vaccines in utero and the child was never right. So it was quite clear to me that the more I learned, the less I knew, and that there was much more to this. And so we designed a series of studies to look at these issues and the possibility that what was happening is that things like thimerosal, human DNA, aluminum, ethylene glycol, all the contaminants and additives and excipients and extraneous viral content of vaccines was actually contributing to a perfect storm. And that what it was, in fact, is that these things led to some kind of immune system overload, which then at various levels of different children decompensated and turned into autism. And in fact, way back when we started the Lancet, looking at the Lancet children, we were looking at mitochondrial disorders as a possible mechanism. We had some very crude ways of looking at mitochondrial disorder then, and the results were negative. So we abandoned that in the children's interest. We felt that we were doing enough tests as it was. So way back then, we were looking for evidence of mitochondrial dysfunction. It turns out now that that's extremely important. So if I was to present a unifying hypothesis now that needs to be tested, it would be that it's the load, the load of whatever is in vaccines given to children that at some point causes them to decompensate, their system can no longer cope, and they undergo some sort of metabolic and immunological derangement, which leads to the clinical features of autism. So that's where I am now. So as to the question of how do I feel about vaccines and can vaccines ever be made safe? No, vaccines can never be made 100% safe. Even if there were safe vaccines, completely safe vaccines, would I recommend mandating vaccines? Absolutely not. There is no place whatsoever for me personally or in my medical training for mandating any medical procedure. Parents deserve fully informed consent, and that means all the bad stuff and all the good stuff, everything in between about vaccines, nothing held back, complete transparency, and then the parents, and only the parents, are able to decide whether their child receives these vaccines or not. And that's it. That is unambiguous, unequivocal. There is no place whatsoever for mandatory medical procedures in the free world or anywhere. So the question then is, would I vaccinate my children? And I've said this many times, that if I had a baby today, would I give them vaccines? So I don't give parents advice on whether to vaccinate or not. That's not my place. It must be the parents' choice based upon their own investigation and education. But if I had a baby today, would I vaccinate them? No, I wouldn't. And I wouldn't because the more I learn, the more concerned I become about the safety of these vaccines. And until I am reassured about that, there's absolutely no way that I would recommend a child of mine receiving, my baby receiving vaccine. So that is my position today. But people need to see the film Vaxxed in the historical context of what it was referring to. And the interview that I gave in Vaxxed, where I spelled out the suggestion that parents should have the option of single vaccines or use single vaccines, was contemporaneous. It was that at that time. That was what was spelled out in the press conference at the Royal Free Hospital. And that was my position then. But as the science has emerged and as I've learned more, then my position has moved on.
Yeah. I think everybody, we get on these journeys and nobody is where they were even a year ago. I mean, I know I'm not. We all grow and we change our opinions and we learn. And if you're not able to do that, then something's wrong, because I believe it's just part of human nature. I hate, like, I'm one of those people, I like everything to stay really upbeat and positive. I'm just one of those kind of people. So anytime there's like really serious stuff, I'm like holding my breath. But I'm going to, I'm just one of those people, I guess, I'm going to bring on my buddy Lou Drago. She is a warrior mom in the movement with a son who has Down syndrome as well as autism. And she's been dying to talk to you, Dr. Wakefield. So Lou, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I can.
Okay. Hi, Dr. Wakefield. I have an 18-year-old son with Down syndrome who regressed at 22 months within 12 hours after the MMR. There is a large group in the Down syndrome community that have children who regressed into autism. Can you give us a little insight that our kids are more susceptible to damage from vaccines?
It's a very good question. I don't have any expertise, I'm afraid. I would love to be able to answer your question. I might pose a question to you, and that is, I believe, although it's been a long time since I read it, that there are immunological issues in children with Down syndrome that might predispose them to an abnormal reaction to a vaccine. Now, is that your understanding? Is that the case?
That my understanding is, I believe it's heavy metals that crosses the blood-brain barrier. That's what I believe, because there is an issue with the blood-brain barrier with Down syndrome children, along with many other medical issues with these kids.
Is that right? Is it more leaky? Is it more permeable, the blood-brain barrier? Are things more likely to get through?
Yes. And there are some people doing some research on it, but I just, we're trying to get it out to the Down syndrome community to watch out and be careful, because there's like 1 in 7 Down syndrome boys regressing into autism.
Wow, that's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for
It was
my
nice
attention.
to see you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, I love my buddy Lou Drago. We've got a lot of warriors out here, and Lou is one of those people that no matter what kind of day you're having, she's always there to pick you up and dust you off and help you to tomorrow. So we all love us some Lou. We have got Heidi on the line, and she has a question for you, Dr. Wakefield.
Hello, can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, sweetie. I have a question about something I heard you mention in a radio show about a year ago. And you were talking about teaching yoga to autistic. Hello?
I'm sorry. I couldn't hear what you said. I couldn't hear what you said in the beginning.
Oh, let me start over. Okay. I'd listened to Andy doing a radio show about a year ago. And he mentioned teaching yoga to autistic children.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I'm guessing she's wondering. I think she's wondering what your opinion is on teaching yoga to children with autism, if I heard her correctly.
Right. Well, I think yoga is good for everybody. I think that yoga is absolutely wonderful. It's certainly been my salvation. It's saved my sanity over the last 25 years. But I, as a follow-up to that, I've been trying desperately to get to a teacher training course to do the sort of 200 or 300 hours that are necessary to become a yoga teacher. But every time I do, we're making a film at the moment which involves a court case, and they keep changing the day of the court case, so I keep having to postpone the teacher training. So I will get there one day. But I'm thoroughly convinced of the merits of yoga, certainly my own benefit from it. And I think it could be of huge benefit to individuals with autism. I see no reason why not, and I thoroughly encourage it.
Yeah, okay, this was what I heard you say about a year ago, and I just thought it was a phenomenal idea. So bless your heart, you're doing amazing things, okay?
Well, thank you.
All right.
We'll get there.
You're getting there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for calling in. Oh, goodness. Well, it has been already an amazing show, and I hope you don't mind having the callers. But like I said, our community just loves you. And for those of them who don't, well, they can kiss my big old white hiney or my tiny little white hiney, because for those who really are looking at you and seeing what you're doing and seeing your heart, we know the truth and we know what's up. So, I was laughing because people were freaking out because they saw a photo of you kissing somebody, and it was just flooding the internet. And I was giggling so much. I'm like, good, she's beautiful. You go, boy. And it's like, why is everybody so in this man's business? Like, you can't even have a personal life. It's just so sad. Oh, my goodness.
Yes, thanks.
It is silly, though. Everybody out there, y'all let this man have a personal life. Stay out of his Kool-Aid. Oh, my goodness. Well, so I have some questions for you that were sent to me by people who may have been a little too nervous to call in. We have author Mary Ann Puckett who asked, let's see here, if you have another book that's about to be released. And we also have someone wanting to know what is your next project you're working on film-wise. So I guess we can just toss both those out there at once.
Right. Okay. Rather than writing books, I've focused on filmmaking. The ability to reach a much wider audience was made clear from Vaxxed, the experience with Vaxxed, and its profound effect upon public perception of this issue. And just to give you some example, there's a poll that comes out every year at the end of the year called YouGov, YOUGOV, and every year they ask the question, do you believe vaccines cause autism? It's completely unrelated with film. And in 2015, before Vax came out, it was 13% of the adult public polled. 1 year later, after Vax came out, it was 31%. And that's the impact of film. It's an extraordinary shift in public consciousness. And that was before Vax toured across North America, and Polly took the bus on the Vax tour, and it played around the world. So it'll be substantially more than that now. So I've become utterly convinced that film is capable of reaching a very large number of people. Americans, the world, but Americans in particular, understand film. And if you can entertain people first and educate them second, get them leaning forward in their seats and wanting to hear more, then you can change minds. And that's what Vax did. So I've become committed now to enlightening, to educating through the process of film. And we've done a series of things. I've done a series of lectures which will be coming out soon, and I'll very happily give you the heads up when that comes out. But 25 lectures, and one of the issues that really video lectures with animation, etc. That it was one of the issues that people struggle with is this concept of herd immunity and what it is alleged to mean, sort of by the vaccinologists and the public health doctors, and what it actually means. And so I put together a lecture series which goes through that in great detail, using measles as an example. One, because it's something I know something about and studied for a very long time, and two, because it seems to be the disease that everywhere we hear around the world, killer disease makes a comeback, measles. So I thought it was a useful one to focus on. So that will be coming out soon. Right. The second is a documentary, which we're making a documentary series, in fact. There's enough material to break it up into at least 3 parts, but it involves the Vaccine Act of 1986, which really took substantial liability away from the vaccine manufacturers for harm done by their products and led to some expected and some completely unexpected transformations. And so it's an extremely important story, and it'll be told through the sort of tale of one child going through the process, but with all of the other elements of the Vaccine Act coming in, all the intended and unintended consequences of that act, and ultimately asking the question, what should happen now? Should it be repealed or should it be modified? Should the manufacturers be made liable for their products once again? So and in that story will be the global backdrop of what's happening around the world, the extraordinary events in Italy, where this whole mandatory vaccine issue became the central focus of the general election there, the presidential election, and in Poland and Japan and China and all of these places. So it'll be this single one-child story against a sort of global backdrop of a changing world view of vaccines and sort of counter-revolution, if you like, against the pharmaceutical industry. So that's the story that I'm involved in right now, and that'll go on. The production will go on for a bit longer, but we'll try to get it out as soon as possible.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. Let me tell you something. I so appreciate Vax. I drove to meet Polly. I drove a state over to go meet Polly and Suzanne and be able to do my interview on the bus, and just because I had to meet them. I had to be able to hug their necks, and I just have to tell thank you, because for people like me, when my daughter, I took her in for thrush, and she was 15 months old, and they convinced me that she had to get 6 vaccinations that day, and 2 of those were triples. And she was immediately ill from that point on. We had 26 days straight of fever. She ended up with her neutrophil levels dropping to 0, and we ended up with a bone marrow aspiration and biopsy, and they came back and said she had autoimmune neutropenia. And we went through so much, trying to figure out what happened to her and try to recover her, and they told us, well, neutropenia in itself is about 1 in a million. And I kept saying, if it's not the vaccinations, then what did this to her? She was fine beforehand. She had a CBC the same morning before the vaccines, and her blood cell count was normal, and nobody wanted to hear it. And so I saw the movie Vax by chance. I actually looked up Russell L. Blaylock. I saw him on Google when I put in brain damage and body injury after vaccination, and then Vax thing popped up, and it said it was before it even came out. It said it was coming soon, and so I actually went to Amazon, pre-ordered it, and then I couldn't wait. So when it came out, I actually live streamed it and watched it, and I just sat there bawling because my daughter had something different, but my little one that I was vaccinated while pregnant with had autism. And I didn't even really realize it back then. And so, it was kind of a rough thing to watch, but then it was one of those things where Vax brought me to our community, where I thought before I saw Vax, we were just 1 in a million. We were just a dip in the bucket. And then I see Vax, and I reach out to Facebook and different platforms, and I find millions of, there's thousands of us out here. We're everywhere. And in every country, you see everybody standing up and you realize, I mean, that's what Vax did for me, and I think tons of other people out there, is you brought us together. You guys were able to take a community that all thought we were just the one in a million, and you made us realize, hey, we've all got each other in this, and we are actually a very big force.
Yes, I think it was extraordinary. I mean, what I've been involved in this for a very long time with various people and various movements, and people, inevitably, there is a sort of a siege mentality that occurs where we're all inside the walls and we're under siege, and after a while you start to ask, why have we got no ammunition? Why are we starving to death, etc.? Why is there... And you start looking internally.
Right.
Well, the problem and the community, or whatever that means, fragments, and different groups break off and arguments fall out, and you tend to forget that the enemy is actually outside the gate, putting you in this position. And what Vax did was to reunite people in a way that I'd never seen before. It really gave people a common purpose, because it was a validation of all of their concerns. And it was a validation not from me or from Dell or from Polly, but from William Thompson at the CDC, saying, actually, we've known this for 14 years and we decided to keep it quiet, to put millions of your children in harm's way in order to protect the vaccine program. And that had a profound effect on people, because they felt reinvigorated. They had a common sense of purpose again, and realized that the problem was not within, but without. And that's what we need to continue. And it's what frightened the other side so much.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we've got another caller. We've got an autism dad on the line. We have got Andrew Matter. Can you hear me, Andrew?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome to the show, Andrew.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Wakefield, for taking our calls. It means the world to me. I live on the east coast of Canada, and it's quite a vacuum chamber here to get any acknowledgement of there actually being a physical illness going on within autism. It's still just a behavioral issue. We only get psychologists here. So it's really refreshing to actually be able to speak to somebody who's got some experience with this. My son has gone through testing and has found that we have a primary water supply that's arsenic poisoned, and he's been exposed to that for 6-7 years of his life. The past 2 years, of course, since finding out, we've had him removed off of that. He's been fully vaccinated up until the second MMR, and he suffered some really severe consequences from having this combination introduced to him. His nonverbal suffered gastrointestinal issues for a very long time. And I can't connect with any doctor on East Coast of Canada whatsoever that can acknowledge the arsenic nor the autism. I know a term that's been dropped to me is aluminum-induced encephalitis and gut-brain connection and whatnot. I'm just looking for any input whatsoever at either treating or getting connection to competent people that acknowledge that vaccines actually do injure. I'm sure you're aware Canada is the one G20 nation that advocates for vaccination and has no compensation for that policy. So, just like I said, any input would be greatly appreciated.
Well, I think your instincts are absolutely right. And this is the sort of learning process that I went through, is that when, first of all, I was presented with the possibility from parents that live viral vaccines like measles, mumps, rubella were involved, and then came across the thimerosal story, and it made eminent sense, not just that thimerosal as a neurotoxin was having a direct effect, but that thimerosal, mercury, as a poison to the immune system, specifically one that could skew the behavior of the immune system away from a normal antiviral response, would have a compounding effect on MMR, that the two together were much worse than the two separately. And then aluminum came along, and it's become quite clear that aluminum and thimerosal dramatically potentiate the toxicity of thimerosal. So you're looking at something which is not just additive. You're looking at something that is sort of exponentially increasing the toxicity of these things. And the more you put in, the worse it gets. Now, is there any reason why arsenic wouldn't play into that in exactly the same way or in some distinct way? And it may well do. I'm not an expert in arsenic poisoning, but I can well see, based upon my understanding of the way that metals interact with the immune system function and the brain, that arsenic could be playing a very similar role. So is it biologically plausible? Absolutely. And the question then is, is it actually happening, and how to investigate it? And to do that, to answer those questions, you need people who are sympathetic on the scientific side who are going to step in and help. And I'll be on the lookout for such people in your part of the world. I'm aware that over on the other side of Canada, in British Columbia, then you've got the group at the University of British Columbia looking at aluminium in particular as a cause, a trigger, or a cofactor in autism. And they've done some great work. So it may well be worth getting in touch with them. And I'm just trying to think, I don't know why, but his name has slipped my mind. Someone on the show may, Christopher Shaw, Dr. Christopher Shaw. So I would strongly recommend you making contact with Dr. Christopher Shaw, because he's one of the world's leading experts on the role of metal toxicity, aluminum in particular, in autism, and to see if he can shed any light on it.
So that's greatly appreciated. On the second topic with vaccine injury compensation being acknowledged, being 18 of 20 G20 nations, and Canada being completely off the radar when it comes to vaccine compensation. In your circles now currently that you're doing with filmmaking and whatnot, would that be an interest inside of those circles, that this is such a fresh, naive environment that is highly vaccinated, highly promoted to be vaccinated? Newfoundland has got an autism rate of 1 in 57 now. I got to think that's one of the world's highest. Just curious if filmmakers are looking at this part of the world and trying to bring light to the people here, or if due to our lack of population, it's just not in the cards for us.
No, I think that, part of the film I'm making at the moment is about exactly that. It's about the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program, the act that was passed in the US in 1986, which has been a failure on many, many levels. It doesn't compensate in the way that Congress had intended. It is not fair. It is not rapid. It is not equitable. It does not err on the side of compensating children.
It's like magical fairy dust.
Yes, it is.
Compensation is like it is.
The one thing that it has succeeded in doing is getting the pharmaceutical industry off the hook, and so they're not liable. Therefore, they can produce any number of vaccines they like, get them onto the schedule, and all they can do is profit. And so there are great dangers with the institution of laws that invoke vaccine injury compensation programs. I don't know. I imagine in Canada you're rather like the UK, your principal focus is upon suing the manufacturer. Although I don't know whether you're allowed to do that in Canada. Certainly in the UK, that's what remains. And that's an extremely difficult task because, of course, they're incredibly well funded. They've got lawyers everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Every lawyer office I've called in Nova Scotia, I've called, must be 20 different lawyers' offices here locally, and they're unable to speak with me. So I know Big Pharma is hard at work retaining every law firm that they can get in every corner of the world, making sure that people that actually have a valid fight can't have anyone represent them. that's clearly what I'm seeing here. There's no justification on why every law firm I call in Nova Scotia, Canada, can't even speak to me. Like that's highly suspicious. But to what you're saying, yeah.
And if there wasn't a problem, if there weren't a problem with vaccines, why would they do that? So I think they're very, very frightened of what's coming down the pipe, and it's going to happen. And part of the work that I'm doing at the moment is to characterize the problems and create some change in this area.
Yeah, the fear driving it, the most recent one, I'm trying to promote the vaccine for that. So. Anyway, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate your input.
Thank you for calling, Andrew. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then, very quick, don't worry, guys, in the queue waiting, and then we will be back, and we have a few more questions for you from some more of our warriors. So we will be right back, everybody. Y'all just hang in there.
Vaccines are required for students, employees, immigrants, military members, and international travel. Do you know how to legally avoid them? This is vaccine rights attorney and Freedomizer radio host Alan Phillips. My vaccine exemption ebook can help you avoid the mistakes that have cost others their exemption rights. Get the authoritative guide to vaccine legal exemptions, an ebook available at freedomizerradio.com and vaccinerights.com.
Let freedom ring throughout the land.
You know the Constitution like the back of your hand. You've read books, listened to podcasts, attended lectures, surfed websites, and watched videos. You've made liberty your life's goal, but something seems to be missing. Stickers from LibertyStickers.com. Exercise your freedom of speech with the world's most dangerous bumper stickers. That's LibertyStickers.com. But wait. There's more. You can buy Liberty Stickers wholesale. Get them for 99 cents each when you put 100 or more in your shopping cart in any combination. Sell them or give them away. They're great for gun shows, flea markets, fairs, outreach, and more. Earn extra money, promote freedom, and spread the word. Need custom stickers, labels, or decals for your organization or business? Liberty Stickers makes them. Go to LibertyStickers.com to order or call 877-873-9626. LibertyStickers.com, the world's most dangerous stickers. Get ready for the epic new documentary adventure ride of your life. Shade the motion picture. A view into the globalist domain and embellish and Burma's film.
Nothing in this world works the way you think it does. Nothing. Governments do not operate the way you think they do. Banks do not do what you think they do. The police department is not here for what you think it is. Nothing in your world works the way you think it does.
We have to let them know that their world government has been identified, and they thought they'd implode the world economy to bring in a worldwide police state, but instead it's going to bring them down.
You have to stand up, speak out.
Shade the motion picture. Order your copy of the DVD today at shadethemotionpicture.com.
All right, everybody. You are listening to Forsaken Generation Radio Show on Freedomizer Radio. I am your host, Lynette Marie Barron, and I am on today with none other than Dr. Andrew Wakefield himself, the true OG, I believe, of the medical health freedom movement, if you ask me. And I want to now bring on Jessica Van Hill Hart. Go ahead, buddy. You are on the air.
Well, hello. Thank you for taking my call, Lynette. My name is Jessica Van Hill Hart. I'm a Peeps TV host with Rachel Williams here in California. And we hosted a screening of Pathological Optimists, and you were scheduled to do a Q&A with us, except your flight was delayed, and you were up in the sky when you were scheduled to do that. So there's a couple questions I wanted to ask you that I didn't get to ask you that night. And the first one is about Pathological Optimists, and if you feel that the movie accurately represented who you are. And the second part of that question is there anything about that movie or in that movie that you wish wasn't, or is there anything that you wish would have been included?
Wow. Okay. So when I Miranda Bailey, who produced and directed the film, she pursued me for a very long time to get involved in making it, and I did not want to. Why? Because I wasn't interested in a film about Andy Wakefield. I had no interest in that at all. That's not what this issue is about.
Yeah.
What changed my mind is when we decided to sue Brian Deere in the British Medical Journal in the state of Texas for defamation. And that was then a story, because what we hoped is that it would give us a platform for the world to see the facts laid out, clearly laid out, under oath, in a court of law, so that people could then make up their minds about all of this, all of Deere's allegations going way back, and to see Deere for who he is, the pathological liar that he actually is. I have no hesitation in saying that, because it's quite true. And so that then, there was a film. That was a story that the public deserved to hear. Not a story about Andy Wakefield, but a story about the lengths that people will go to prevent the truth coming out, and what happens to people who try to stand up, in this case for the parents of children, and get the truth out. And sadly, and this is the big sadness, is that, as with all court proceedings, you can never quite predict how they're going to go. We were denied jurisdiction in the state of Texas, despite all legal precedent in our favor. So someone very high up did not want that court case to go ahead, and we went to the appeal court, but we were denied jurisdiction. So on a technicality, the story never got to court, and that's a great shame. That's my sadness. That was the third act of that story, and it was, so Miranda Bailey, without that third act, without the court case, was left to make a film about sort of a character study, and that's a shame. It was a shame for her, and it was a shame. That was not my intention. So, but having said that, I at the very outset, I said, look, I will not try. Here's the deal. I'll get involved in this, but I'm not going to require any editorial control over it. It's your film. I'll trust you with the story. You make it. Because once you start to try and interfere with editorial control in a film about you, then, it's not going to be accurate, and it's not appropriate to start tinkering with someone else's film. So that was my condition. So it wouldn't have been the story that I'd wanted to be told, but in the end, I think, based upon what she had, she did a commendable job. And I think the nice thing for me is that my family came out of it extremely well. My wife, Carmel, was really the kind of star of the show, and she did brilliantly. And
I was going to mention that. I was going to mention that and ask about how your family felt about the movie, because she was a big part of that, I feel like. And I didn't know anything about her. And I learned, so much more about you. I didn't know you did yoga. There were so many things that were interesting to me that were about you and about your family. And so I'm glad to hear that they came through that fine and they don't have any regrets about making the film with you.
No, I think that she did a great job, and so I don't think there are any regrets from that perspective. I think there are some things like when Miranda put up the papers saying that there are hundreds of papers saying that vaccines don't cause autism.
Right.
If I were making that film, I would say, and there are hundreds of papers that say it does. Vaccines do cause autism. So, and here you are. You make up your own minds, read the science. But that didn't happen. And so one was left with this slightly biased view of what the respective scientific arguments were held. And that was unfortunate from my perspective. But again, that was her choice. It's difficult to say. It's really difficult to talk about a film in which you've been involved, but the thing to do in life is to have no regrets, just keep moving forward. And I think the value of it is that for those who were agnostic beforehand, it gets people thinking and talking about it. It makes people realize that I don't have horns and a tail, that I don't devour children, and that there is an argument a debate to be held. And so there is a value to it, because what it does is bring things to a sort of middle ground, which says the debate is real.
Yeah, and I appreciated the humility that you showed, too. I mean, you have admitted to making mistakes, and people don't realize that. You know, people don't realize how humble of a person you actually are. You recognize that there have been mistakes and things that you have done that you could just, you know, spend your time regretting, but instead you barrel forward to keep on the course and do what you're set out to do from the very beginning. So I appreciated learning that part about you. And I have another really quick question, and then I'll let Lynette take other callers. I don't want to hog all the time. So on the Vax tour, when you were on the bus, was there anything that surprised you? Anything that you learned about vaccine injury and talking to all these families? What do you take from that experience? Were there any major revelations for you personally?
Yeah, I think one of the most extraordinary things is the number of deaths following vaccination. Now, you see, as a physician, I don't mean it to sound trite in any way, but there are no clinics for children who die. In other words, if you're working in a hospital, you see children who are sick coming in with their parents, and their parents saying, this is what happened to my child, and you look after them, treat them, etc. But when children die after a vaccination, they don't come to the attention of doctors. And so they're not adequately investigated. And so it was the sheer number of parents coming forward, many of them after years and years and years of simply being unable to talk about it. I mean, one mother said, my husband has never spoken about this in all the years that have passed since our child died. And what that did, what the Vax Tour did, what Polly enabled was people to come and tell their stories, and it was a sort of catharsis. It was a very valuable experience for them and for me, because I came to understand just how pervasive this problem is, and how the medical profession had been so dismissive, so completely dismissive of any association with the vaccine when it was glaringly obvious. Perfectly healthy child has 8 vaccines and 2 days later is dead. No, come on, really. But no, it cannot be anything to do with the vaccine. Oh, yes, it can. And oh, yes, it is. And it's merely medicine trying to cover its rear end to deny that. And it's starting to come to the fore now in recent awards in vaccine court for the first case of SIDS that was now correctly labeled as a vaccine-related death. So, yes, I think if there was a single thing that struck me very early on the tour, it was that. It was the mortality from vaccines that I'd never been aware. I was aware that it was a problem, but I'd never been aware of the extent of the problem, and it clarified for me why that was. Is because, of course, as doctors, these children don't come to you. These stories do not come to you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I do think the stories are still so important, which is why Rachel and I, have a story day every month. And there's so many stories in our queue still. It continues to be important. But the thing we get to add that the Vaxxed bus didn't get to add is that there's hope. And we get to add therapies. We get to get into things like cannabis and other things where it was a little bit harder to get into during the Vaxxed tour. So we're so excited to keep that momentum going through Peeps TV and to have the stories continue to be at the forefront, because I honestly believe that's part of what's going to win this. Anyway, I'm going to get off the phone so you guys can get to other callers, but I appreciate you taking my call, and thank you, Dr. Wakefield, for everything, for your decorum, for your grace, and all of that. You continue to be such an amazing example to all of us, so thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
All right. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Love you, girl. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with my buddy Jessica there on all the stuff she just said, because that I feel the same way. I'm gonna go ahead and jump to the next one. We have Sandy Bergman from California on the line. Sandy, can you hear us?
I can. Thank you. Had to catch my breath after that. Good morning, Dr. Wakefield. Nice to meet you.
Good morning.
Just to parrot. Good morning. Yeah, just to parrot what you said about the whole VAX experience, validating parents. There's 10,000 ways to thank you, and yes, VAX was definitely my soft place to land. So thank you for that. My question, well, I'll get to my point first. I'm sure that you know that this big tribe is on a daily basis still coming to your defense and guarding your integrity and your work and your passion and everything that you've done. And if there was one, two, or maybe three things that we could share in the discussions that we have with the other side, if you will, is there anything that you think that we should still be sharing, whether it was in an interview that you did, something you've written, anything like that you would like to still continue to be out there, or something that hasn't been talked about that we could share in these discussions with people that are on the fence about vaccinations?
Well, I think, yes, there is. And in fact, it's not come from me. It's come from an extraordinary woman called Vera Sharav, who did an independent investigation of all of the allegations against me. And the value of it is it's not me doing it. It's someone completely independent. And she put this series on Age of Autism, and it's coming out as a video series as well, of her reading it, and as a sort of, and it's an extraordinary piece of work, irrespective of the fact that it's about my story. It's the truth, and it really lays it out in the most thorough way. And so I would, when that comes out, it will become common knowledge, and everybody will be able to find it. But that's the thing I think that should be shared, because it's not my opinion. Again, it's a completely independent investigator who's come to these conclusions based upon a thorough analysis of all of the documents that are available. And it really shows the British Medical Journal and Brian Deer for the frauds that they are. Yeah. And it puts an end to the debate. I mean, it's, and she challenges them, to deny any of this, and of course they don't want to touch it because they daren't go near it. So that, when it comes out, it is available now on Age of Autism, Vera Sharav, Sharav, Sharav. But it will be out in a video version as well in the not too distant future.
Thank you for that.
Pleasure.
Yeah, it's been nice to have my coffee while I talk to Dr. Andrew Wakefield.
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
Hey, can't beat it.
Right?
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for calling in, Sandy, and I hope you're feeling better, my friend.
We're getting there. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. I'm still praying for you. All right. Well, that is all I've got on there. My friend Lou is back, and she is asking me. We've got another caller in just a second, but Lou wanted me to ask you real quick. She said to make sure that I told you that the children with Down syndrome also had very low levels of glutathione, and that she drew a blank and forgot to mention that when she was on the phone earlier. So I just wanted to throw that out there and tell you that.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And, a lot of people just want me to also tell you that they appreciated their interview on the Vax Bus. And you were right. For me, it was very, very therapeutic, very cathartic. I drove hours and hours, didn't sleep the whole night before because my daughter, who has autism, excuse me, wouldn't sleep at all. And so it was quite a wild ride, quite a wild morning, but it was so worth it. And Polly actually spent an hour interviewing me. I was kind of surprised that, we were able to spend that much time together. It was just awesome, and I clicked so well with everybody, and Anu and I now do the first hour of my show together. We've become such good friends, and, the realness of everybody is the part that I think a lot of people really aren't paying attention to. And if you just meet, I've met Dell several times. We've actually spent a lot of time together, broke a lot of bread together, meals, things like that, even did karaoke. That was definitely a lot of fun. So it's if you just get to know these people and you get to see they're human beings and you get to know their heart, you really do see where they're coming from. And I only hope that I have the opportunity to get to meet you one day and spend some time with you in person, because I just want to be able to give you a big old hug, number one, just thank you. I mean, this is a rough life, and when you have a child that's affected, I wish they would have listened, and I wish things would have happened differently after you brought this to light so long ago, because maybe my little girl wouldn't be affected the way she is. I mean, it's hard when you have severe autism and global development delay, epilepsy, with the gut issues, with all these other, SPD, it's everything. It's all day. It's every day. It is hard. It's if I didn't have my teenage daughter here that helps me out so much, I don't know that I would even survive with my heart issues, my personal health and trying to keep up. But it's hard. So, all of us out here, we just love you so much. And for all if you do get the negativity, Dr. Wakefield, just brush it off your shoulder, my friend, because seriously, God's got a lot of gems on that crown you're going to be getting in heaven for what you've done here. I truly believe that. I believe we are doing God's work here. Like, that is what we are doing. And I think that's why we're winning. That's why we're succeeding. With science and God on your side, how can you fail?
Well, good for you. Thanks so much.
All right, we're going to take a call again from Amber Smith. She called in earlier, but she had another question for you. She jumped back in there, so go ahead, Amber.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for taking my call again. But just a quick question, Dr. Wakefield. I heard you touch on the 86 Act earlier, and I was just kind of curious, as much as we would all love for it to be repealed, if we had the opportunity to at least modify it, what do you suggest? What kind of modifications do you suggest we could throw in there? Lynette, I'm kind of curious on your input on this as well. Just kind of little things that we could change. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think there are two issues. One is that there were what are called on-table and off-table injuries, as I'm sure you know, and the on-table injuries were a table of injuries that sort of Congress required to be put together, which said if the child has any of these, then they will be automatically compensated. There'll be no fault. We assume that the vaccine caused the harm and they will be compensated, so it won't have to go through any adversarial legal battle. And in 96, HHS gutted that table in order to make it more difficult for parents to win compensation for their children, and that needs to be put right. And the injuries that were on that table originally need not only to be restored but added to. Because once you make an injury off table, then the burden of proof is upon the parents to prove that the vaccine caused the problem. Well, that's absolutely outrageous. How can parents, with their almost universal lack of scientific or medical training, hope with limited resources to prove something that not even the CDC or the Institute of Medicine or anyone else can prove? How would parents possibly reach that bar? They wouldn't. They can't. And so the burden of proof, which is upon the parents for those off-table injuries, completely needs to be transformed. The burden of proof needs to be upon the government to prove that it didn't cause the problem, and all the parents need to be able to show is that it's scientifically plausible, given the time frame of the injury, that's what happened to their child. So the burden of proof has to shift dramatically onto the government and away from the parents. And the other thing that needs to be done is parents need to be given the science to answer the question, and the science that needs to be done, that the CDC and everybody else has refused to do, is of course the vax-unvax study, the comparison of long-term health outcomes in children who are fully vaccinated according to the schedule compared with those who are not vaccinated at all. And only that is the baseline data for a valid comparison and the sort of the determination of whether vaccines can or cannot cause these problems. And so that study must be done as a matter of urgency.
Amen.
show. I'm sorry, I have someone at the door, but let me just bear with me 1 second. I'm on a radio show, so. Okay, so our apartment flooded, and they're putting it right at the moment. So anyway, that's
Oh goodness.
Anyway, sorry, where we? Those are the things that I think need to be addressed, and I sincerely believe that the pharmaceutical companies need to be liable once again for harm done by their products. There's no incentive to do safety studies if you have no liability. So
yes, absolutely.
I think that was a major problem.
Absolutely, and it's my understanding that they're trying to add the pregnancy vaccines, the vaccines that they recommend for pregnancy. They're trying to add immunity for that.
Nothing would surprise me. I mean, they want basically immunity for everything. In fact, they're lobbying for immunity for harm done from any drug at all that they manufacture. So that's where we're headed, and that's got to be stopped.
That's just ridiculous. Yep. You think that that would just bring up so many red flags for people.
Yes.
If they were paying attention.
Yeah,
amen. There is a problem.
Yeah.
But that's why we go out and we do what we do, right?
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, thank you for calling in, Amber Smith. We are going to take a call from author and autism mom, Mary Ann Puckett. Mary, you there?
Yes, I'm here, Lynette.
Welcome
Hi,
to
Dr.
the show,
Wakefield.
Mary.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much.
A couple of years ago, my daughter Laurel and I visited with you briefly at Brody House in Austin when they had a homecoming for the Vax bus. And Laurel was talking to you about her severe vaccine injury where she suffers with gluten, casein intolerance, which so many have. She has seizures 2 grand mal a week and about 10 drop seizures a week. She has mastocytosis and schizophrenia. And when after speaking with you, you mentioned that you might be doing some research in the future on the gut-brain connection in this area. And Laurel felt very encouraged after speaking with you about that. And I'm just, we try to keep holding on to hope with her because with her major issues that never go away, she says, Mother, I don't know if I want to continue to live. And she has threatened suicide a few times. So it's just something I juggle along with my son, Stephen, that I wrote my book, Who Will Be My Voice. Stephen has Lennox-Gastaut syndrome and severe autism. So it's a severe juggling act we have going on in this family. And so you had said earlier that you are not writing books at this time, but would there be anything in your movies that would address these issues to give Laurel some hope?
It's a very good question. I remember you very well. And yes, there are 2 things to say, and that is, as far as the gut-brain connection goes, that is now a major focus of research worldwide. So the commonest and most consistent research finding in neurodevelopmental disorders such as autism, branching into schizophrenia, branching into Parkinson's disease, branching into many areas of neurology now, is that there is an abnormality in the gut. And one of the biggest areas of interest is the gut bacteria. That there is something abnormal about the gut bacteria in people with these neurodevelopmental and neuropsychiatric conditions compared with those who do not have them. So that is, although I am not doing it because I have no access now to a laboratory or to research facilities, many, many other people are. And these studies are coming out of Yale, Harvard, and elsewhere. So I would strongly recommend that what little time you do have available, you access some of those studies because they come out virtually on a weekly basis, linking the gut to the brain. And that gives all kinds of potential for therapeutic intervention, not least of which is taking the right probiotic to restore the nature of the gut bacteria to repair things. Now, there's a lot more to it than that, but I would strongly recommend that that's an area that you pursue. As far
One
as
of her
seizures,
doctors has her on a compounded medicine called cromolyn, which she explained to Laurel. She said this took a long time to develop to this point. It's going to take a long time for it to show any improvement with this compounded medicine, but she thinks that it can help her in the future. And right now, Laurel's body mass index is so low. She's 5'10", and she weighs 115 pounds because she can't take food in. If she does, she's doubled over with severe stomach aches.
Right.
So we're just, as you said, there's a lot of research being done, and I just wondered if you could give me some heads up on things. I am in touch with Dr. Russell Blaylock. He did endorse my recent book, and I know he's doing a lot of research, and he's been very helpful with Stephen. So I might reach out to him in the future on Laurel's issues too. So, but thank you for your time on this, Doctor. I appreciate it so much.
Okay, very best of luck.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Yeah, we've had a lot of parents who are really, really excited about today's show. I know I've been going nuts. I couldn't sleep, and I thought that, maybe it would just be the day before that I couldn't sleep, but I haven't slept in 2 days because every time I lay down, I was thinking about this interview. So yeah, it's been pretty interesting. I'm sure my kids are ready for me to sleep. They're looking at me like I'm a crazy woman with two heads right now. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I mean, you know how it's hard though. I mean, when you go through all these kind of things, as much as I tell everybody, I try to preach being your own hero. I'm one of those people who I really try to inspire the folks in our movement to understand their own worth and their own power in this, and that, when you live in fear of speaking out, that's when they're winning. And of course, unity, even if you're not, I don't care if you like somebody or you don't, or whatever their brand is, until we all actually unite together for the same purpose of medical health freedom, we're not going to get anywhere. That's just, something that I think we most of us who know what's going on have figured that message out. And, we try to spread it every week on the show. And, I'm just so happy to be able to have you here with me and be able to talk to you today. I know you said that you had to go about half an hour early, and so I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about anything you do have out there, anything, your books or anything people can get from Amazon, websites, anything like that that you want to put out there for everybody where they can get your latest stuff and things from the past.
Right. Well, people who haven't seen VAX should see VAX. It's really the beginning
Amen.
of the discussion, particularly for people who don't believe or have no interest or thought that this wasn't relevant to them. They realize that it is. The next thing is that please go and watch Peeps TV out there on Roku, doing a wonderful job and telling people stories, giving people a vehicle for getting their message out to the world. So that's extremely important. Dell's High Wire show, bringing us something new and alarming every week. The new film will be a little while in the sort of final production and post-production, but I promise it'll be worth it when it hits the screen. In the meantime, I would suggest to people that we take heart. We take heart from what has happened in Italy, where Italy, things tend to change on a daily basis, but as things stand, they've overturned the mandatory vaccine law in Italy, and that's a huge bonus for the due process of democracy. It's rather like what's happened in Texas. The Texans of Vaccine Choice Girls have done an amazing job in using the democratic process to basically get rid of the congressman who wanted to introduce the mandatory vaccination law. So using the democratic process to prevail. And the value of that is twofold. One is it puts the person in power that you want and who will genuinely represent your interests. And secondly, it's the death knell for anyone getting involved in this, because other politicians say, I'm not touching that mandatory vaccination bill because I'll lose my seat, I'll lose my place as a representative. So it becomes something they don't want to go anywhere near. And So follow the lead of Texans of vaccine choice and fight for your rights. So never say die, never surrender, and on we go.
That's right. That's right. Well, I've got something huge that I'm personally working on, and Anu, and we're kind of working on together for the future. When I say huge, I mean like monstrous. So I'll definitely be getting in touch with you on that. I'm trying to get all 50 states, every coalition, organization, everybody involved. So it's going to be a lot of work, but we're doing the footwork behind the scenes, trying to get something pretty big off the hook here. So I'm definitely going to be getting in touch with you about that. But I just want to say thank you so much for everything you're out there doing. Thank you, like I said, for taking time for just one of the little people like me out here, and letting our people come in and talk to you. And not a lot of my shows we really do a whole lot of. We let people call in if they want to, but I really just wanted to let people be able to talk to you and be able to. I don't know. I like to use my platform for good things and make people's day better, and I think you've made a lot of people's day better today, and you definitely made mine amazing. So, thank you for being a part of this and everything you're doing. I look forward to seeing all the stuff you're up to next, and Vaxxed is priceless. I still don't think that people really understand the weight that movie really held, how much it really did change the world. And, I always laugh because I hear Del Bigtree on High Wire every single week since the High Wire started. I always hear him say he was an Emmy Award winner on the hit show The Doctor, and I always feel like you realize that was not your highlight. Like, the highlight of your life is what you're doing right now. And I always hope that he knows that because, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I would just, feel that way. And I was actually on the High Wire on episode number 65. After one of the ACIP meetings we did. I was the crazy chick with neon blue hair. So, we all get out there and get their attention whatever way we have to. I actually chopped off about 2.5 feet of my hair, dyed it bright blue, wore a bright blue shirt that said resist, rest, repeat on it, and got up to the microphone in the middle of the CDC to say my part because that's just my kind of activism. Everybody does their own way. But I mean, the people in that room were pretty shocked when we were done in there. And last time we had about 20 people show up, and this time we have about 200 coming, from what I can tell. So I'm amazed. I'm excited. And Dr. Wakefield, if you can ever be there, it's kind of like ground zero, where they're making all these decisions, where they're actually presenting you the supposed science, where they say we don't really have the safety for this, but we're going to go ahead and vote yes. So if you could ever make it there, I bet it'd be nice to have your voice in the room as well. And I know that you're a very busy man, so but it'd be amazing to have you there. So if you could ever make it, it's three times a year. So, but
right, yeah, no, it's very revealing, isn't it? But thank you. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Yes.
Keep up the good work.
Sure. Yes, sir. Thank you. And yes, sir, I look forward to meeting you one day and hugging your neck, and you keep up the good work as well. And I'm sorry for the things that have come your way in a negative light because of the things you've done, but I'm so appreciative of you. And, just thank you so much. And you have an amazing rest of your Monday, and keep on keeping on, my friend.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes, sir. Bye. All right, you guys. I'm sure that's probably one of the craziest interviews he's ever been on, but I loved every minute of it. Oh, my goodness, you guys. Dr. Andrew Wakefield. How exciting is that? I've probably dreamed about this moment for the last 2 years that I've been on the air because, it's Dr. Andrew Wakefield. And as I said, he is the OG, the original gangster of this movement. He is the godfather, the whatever you want to call him. And I don't mean that, y'all know that. I mean it in a joking way. He said it's the first time he's ever been called a gangster. Well, woo, too much air down the pipe. But leave it to me to come up with something that he's not heard yet. Oh, my goodness, you guys. What a fun show. If I see several of you still in the queue, if you want to talk to me to finish out this last 30 minutes I've got going, just feel free to message me, and I'll bring you back on the air, and we can chat about today, chat about unity, chat about whatever you want to chat about in the movement. I love having my folks on the air with me. I love being able to discuss stuff with you guys and see what your opinions are and what you think and things of that nature. So, oh my goodness, it's so nice. Everybody's messaging me. I'm sorry, you guys. You know how it is when you're doing the show. You have a chat through Freedomizer, which I get in trouble for not using because it's usually like crickets in there. Most of the people are on Facebook right now. I've probably got like 15 chat windows open. I have to keep minusing and clicking out of and clicking back into to try to keep up. So I want to thank everybody who has been a part of the show. Jessica Van Hill Hart, thank you for calling in today. Sandy Bergman, Lou Drago, Amber Smith, Andrew Matter, oh goodness, I'm forgetting somebody, Marianne Puckett. We've just had so many amazing people who have called into the show today. And, you know, just really people I look up to. Marianne's somebody that reading her books actually opened my eyes to a lot of different things that I didn't even understand were, I didn't even know some of these things even existed. And so it was really helpful to me. And it helped me with my kids, and it helped me further their recovery to learn about these things. So you never know where you're going to find gems at and, you know, where you're going to learn something from. But you can find her books on Amazon as well. I think, well, you can find her newer book, not her oldest book. Ha ha, I have it. Y'all don't understand. I love books. I love reading. And most of my books have the signatures in them because I am such a sucker for signatures in my books. I don't know why. I just am. I feel like one day my kids are going to open them up and see them with their signatures to their mom and be like, wow, cool. My mom was a part of something. You know what I mean? Because I hope by then we've already won this war and that they're not having to, I hope it's part of the past. It's part of history. It's part of, you know, you guys know what I mean. I mean, we've got so many people out there like Mary who are fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. And this is a hard fight to be in for even a couple of years. I can only imagine what comes for me in the future, just dealing with autism every day, much less dealing with being a part of trying to save the world at the same time. And that's what so many people have been up to 15, 20, 30 years already. And, I mean, I'm just a newbie at this, you guys. I've been up to this maybe 3 years total. Oops, sorry about that, y'all. Forgot to mute my desktop. But anyway, so, yeah, I mean, it's hard. I mean, wherever you're at in your journey in this, just know that there is hope and have faith. I was told that Jazzy would never speak. I was told she'd probably be in diapers forever. And she counts to 20. She knows her ABCs. I work with her all the time. She knows so much stuff. Maybe she doesn't say it the same way as all kids do, but I don't think that's what counts. She's able to learn something and super retain it. She actually has a photographic memory. Most of the stuff she sees, especially like if she watches a cartoon or something, she loves Word World. And if she watches a cartoon, she memorizes it like you mute it, and she knows everything that's happening. She will sit there, and if it's on, she'll be quiet, like if the volume's on. But if you mute it, she'll recite the entire show while it's while it's on mute. So it's very interesting to see what she knows and how much they tell you they're not gonna learn or pick up or understand, and how much they don't really know about autism. When I was sitting in the room during her interview and review, the women kept saying, you know more about this than we do. You know more about this than we do. What's your opinion on this? You know more about because after the first day and 5 hours of being together, I kind of had already schooled them on everything they thought they knew because obviously they had no idea. And so it was very interesting, by the end of this, there's more, what do you think on this? You know what I'm saying? I don't know, it was very interesting to see. So y'all don't be afraid or ashamed to get out there and do stuff like that either. Yes, it's nerve-wracking. Yes, it's a little bit scary because you think, are they going to call somebody on me or, something like that. But I've done it quite often, and nobody's ever, this is not the way that people work, I don't think. I think there's a few extremes out there, but for the most part, people aren't just looking to do something bad to people. Even our general practitioner, we've always had very good experience together. He told me it felt like a step in front of a fire hydrant when he met me, but he wasn't afraid to learn things. He said as a doctor, he's 64 years old, he said as a doctor for that long, he has seen the changes. He knows what I'm talking about. So, that's another thing too you really do have to find the older generation of doctors in order to get a doctor who's not going to be so pushy with things like that. He even talked to me about kickback and how doctors aren't really about first do no harm anymore, how it's all about lining your pockets. I'm really thankful to have a doctor like him for my children. Like I said, he's 64, so I told him he's not allowed to retire for a long time. He told me he didn't plan on it because parents like me need doctors like him around. Pediatricians, you guys out there, you really need to get on board. And if you're out there and you're just afraid to do the right thing, afraid to speak up, afraid you'll lose your income, well, if you get enough people on the same side as you and in your practices and in your, groups like that to also do the same thing, then you not only be helping make the world a better place, but you won't stand out so much. So come to the movement and bring your friends with you. Is really what I think is a good idea. If you're in that position, don't be so afraid to stand up and stand out. Let's see here. Dun, dun, dun. We had so many good people. It's just so crazy how many friends I have that mean so much to me who have been a part of this movement. And I don't want them to have to fight forever. I don't want any of you to have to fight forever. It's really hard. It's definitely hard when you're not only are you living life with an injured child, which is hard enough, you guys. I mean, it really is. It's super hard. But then you've got all of this on top of it you're trying to do. I mean, we do the radio show, do the business. We just do so much stuff that is surrounding this. I do the ASIP thing 3 times a year. I try to get everybody together for that. If I help find it, get everybody going, get everybody situated. Tia helps me with the, whole getting everybody where they need to be when we get out there. I mean, it's a big production to try to get, people taken care of and things going and whatnot. So, it's just crazy. I'm going to see. I see Amber Smith. Let's see if she wants to talk to me for a minute. Hey, girl. I brought you back on.
I'm a hype.
Talk to me for a minute.
Yeah, I'm a hype. Third time's a charm, right?
Hey, welcome back. I love my friends calling in.
I just wanted to talk about, just activism, I guess. I was talking to a few friends today. I have recently just joined the movement, I guess. I've kind of been on this journey. Thank you. I haven't really been out in social media about it. I've been on this journey for about 3.5, 4 years. My oldest son had a reaction to his 2-month vaccine, so that kind of just, pushed me on this journey. So I've kind of been doing my research here and there. But I just really recently started jumping into this activism role, and sometimes it gets real nerve-wracking. I actually had my first experience today of walking up to a complete and random stranger at Walmart today, and I handed her an info card. And as nervous as I was, I went ahead and did it, and I feel real good about it. And I just feel like as scared as we might be to speak the truth, even little whispers get heard,
Yep.
And I just feel like we should just...
Once you start doing it, it gets easier and easier. And on top of that, when you see how grateful people are for that, I think the more you help other people, the more it helps you. The more healing you give other people, the more healing you receive yourself. I just truly believe that. I've witnessed it too many times. I get so much joy and so uplifted when people talk to me about how they, whatever we did or whatever, our product was or whatever they used to help them. That lifts you up when you help other people. So, I completely understand that. I mean, it's a very interesting thing. And finding your own brand of activism, girl, not being like anybody else out there. I don't know what it is, like your talent is or whatever your skill is or whatever your thing is in life, but I do believe that you can usually find a way to use whatever you're good at in whatever avenue, to help in the movement. I'm a big mouth. I love to talk. And so, of course,
Amen.
I've got the radio show. You know what I mean?
Same here.
And then,
I love sometimes.
Yeah, and I love being crafty, and I love making things. So we switched our business around to help the movement out. I mean, it's like you can find ways to use whatever your talents are to help here, like Anu being a tech guy. He's walked me through so many things to help me out, and I know he's helped so many other people, but I don't know things like that. Or my daughter, she like understands how documents and like making spreadsheets and all these kind of things work. I'm old school. I have no idea how to do these things. Like it's however whatever you can get, people working together and really being a cohesive machine and helping each other, but still using your own individual uniqueness, in this to make a difference. And I know you say you're new to speaking out. Don't let anybody discourage you either, and don't let fear hold you back, because let me tell you something. Really and truly, the only time it's really scary is when you let it be. I don't live any day in fear of any of those people. But even when I walked in the CDC, I walked in and I sat down in the chair directly next to Paul Offit, shoulder to shoulder. Don't let those people intimidate you. They are human beings just like us at the end of the day. Just be you, and honestly, they'll respect you for it. I got to tell you, he was quite nice to me.
I remember hearing you talk about that.
Yeah, they don't expect us to be that way. They expect us to be rude. They expect us to be more like people were trying to talk me into being. But don't let anybody change your action or reaction. Don't let people change who you are just because somebody, whatever they're saying or whatever happens. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just trying to give you a little advice because I know you say you're new speaking out on this, and I'm kind of a big mouth. I talk to everybody. I think just about anybody in this town who sees me on a regular basis, in life knows exactly what I am, what I stand for, what I do. It's just, I don't know. I think it's just once it becomes part of your everyday, it's, just kind of how you get used to living.
Oh, yeah. And what you said about it being yourself making it the biggest, the fear more so than it actually is. And I think that was my thing, too. I was so nervous about approaching this woman, and she received me with a smile and said thank you. And, we went about our ways. We were just two mothers and doing our shopping and whatnot. And, I was way more nervous than she probably was. Like, who is this crazy person? She probably was grateful, and I'm grateful for the experience because it, like you said, is the more you speak out, the more I'm going to get used to it, and it's just going to become fluent. And, everybody in my personal life is very aware of my views, and I've had to clash a few heads here and there, but I just felt it was time for me to kind of broaden my activism role. So I felt that jump in here.
Well, hey, Amber, we've got somebody else joining us. We've got
absolutely. You know what? I'm tired of hearing from me. I'll let you go.
No, you're good, girl. Hang in there with me. You're more than welcome to stay. Hey, Jessica, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's actually my first time listening, but I saw that Dr. Wakefield was going to be on, so I listened on. And basically, I wanted to ask you, for those of us who are newer to the whole movement, to the vaccine issues, what would you suggest for us for where we should look for the best place to find answers? I'm a nurse. My husband's a surgeon. We're both somewhat, familiar with the medical field, and we're trying to make decisions for our own kids. I have a 2-month-old, a 2-year-old, and a 4-year-old. So where would you point me? What's the best direction to take? Because there's so much. I have a bunch of books, research articles, everything, but it can be a bit overwhelming.
Yeah, it really is. This is something Anu and I were talking about in the past, was trying to make something where it's easier for, you hear everybody say, do your own research, but it's really hard to just dive into this. It's really hard to know where to start. Definitely Vax the movie is a good start, and then there's a lot of documentaries now about this topic, trace amounts, I think it's maybe unvaccinated. There's several on Prime. And feel free to find me on Facebook if you haven't already, and message with me, and I'll be able to get you a lot more information. Dr. Suzanne Humphreys on YouTube, Dr. John Bergman on YouTube, Dr. Russell L. Blaylock.
Huge. Yes. Suzanne Humphreys is amazing. She's a godsend. She's definitely a wealth of information.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm working my way through her book, but it's tricky having 3 little ones and being pressured to make a decision, at the 2-month mark, and being turned away by our pediatrician and everything here in California. So
it's very hard.
So I'm just trying to
well, let me tell you something. With my youngest one, I was vaccinated while pregnant with her, but we were still scared of the system. We still lived in fear, and I got her 2-month shots, and she ended up getting interception from the rotavirus vaccine and having we went through a really, really bad situation after that. And then at 4 months, They actually ended up vaccinating her behind my back while I was actually getting my other daughter, because she was injured, her CBC that we were having to do. And it was just really crazy. And let me tell you, like, there was no concern for me as a parent. And when I told them I would not vaccinate my kids again, and that this is not why we were even there, and that, I was irate. My husband came up there at that point, everything. They told us they would no longer be seeing us. If you find a doctor like that, the best thing you can do is walk out. Go find your local chiropractor. Find your local chiropractor and ask them for advice on a good general practitioner. It is the best thing you can do. It is the best thing you can do. I'm telling you, stay away from pediatricians. General practitioners are actually usually older. They usually know way more about what's going on. They usually will listen to you. They're not really more as worried about the kickback on the whole vaccine thing, because it doesn't play out as much as it does in the pediatrician's office. And your chiropractors will usually know which way to point you. Mine pointed me in the direction of a godsend. And, you usually get pretty lucky. More and more people I keep hearing saying that their chiropractor is the one who actually helped them find the doctor they're using. So, you can look that route too, because don't go anywhere they're going to pressure you. It's your choice. And if you feel any kind of pressure, walk out of that room. And if you're on government assistance or some kind of government thing where you have to do, whatever, you try to find somebody who's actually going to work with you. Don't let them bully you into thinking that you have to do something that, it's hard. I know that. Before I guess I got braver, I was really afraid of these kind of things. I was afraid if I even spoke up or spoke out. Probably every Monday when I did my show for the first year, I thought they were going to show up at my door. But you get over, seriously though, I've had Brian Hooker on here with the CDC sitting in the queue. I knew who they were. I can look up your phone numbers. I see every phone number that calls in. You know what I'm saying? We've had the FBI call in before for certain guests. It gets a little scary. It gets a little crazy. But you have to, at one point you have to really be willing to go, okay, how much is this worth to me? How much is the freedom and everybody else worth to me? For me personally, honestly, if they would stop injuring babies tomorrow, if I just stopped breathing, I would stop breathing. Like, truly. If that's what it would take and that was it could just be solved, I would do that. So for me, this is I'm all in. For some other people, they're a little bit more afraid. They're afraid what their family thinks. They're afraid what their coworkers will think, whatever the case may be, and they feel like they have to be more hushed. We still appreciate you. We still love you in this movement. We like our internet warriors, too. We like just people who send you a message every now and then to say, hey, you're doing a great job, thank you, whatever. Those go a long way, too. So until you get your wheels about you and you get where you're competent enough to do like what we're doing out here, you still have a place in this, and you can still find your own voice in this. And honestly, telling your own story is very empowering. So if you'd ever like to be a guest on my show and tell your story, you're more than welcome to be a guest on my show. I love having everyone and anyone. Every story is just as important as the next.
I think part of our struggle is that my husband, he's a surgeon. He comes from the research world, and so just finding which research is credible and what isn't, and why it's not, just asking all the hard questions like why aren't more pediatricians accepting of this, because they can't all be about money, and just kind of finding the best place to find all of these answers is definitely a struggle. But I appreciate what you're doing and talking about it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I wouldn't sleep if I didn't. I don't. Something about it. Just I feel like I'm supposed to be doing this, so that's what I'm doing. And just you'll find your feet in this. You really will. Like I said, when I first started trying to figure this out, I was scared to death, and I didn't really know where to start either. Now I've got a house full of books, and I've even printed out whole entire books. My daughter laughs because she says, the printer's over here, like, oh no, I'm out of ink, because I'm literally printing like 200-page books off, But you kind of figure out kind of how to weed through things and what you need to know and what you don't. And honestly, these ASIP meetings we were talking about, joining us at the ASIP is a really, really helpful thing. You get all the slides, you get all the information, you're seeing what they're coming out with, you're seeing what they're up to, and you're able to comment and say things. So, that's a good way, too, to also learn a lot of stuff in this movement. And to honestly, it feels kind of good to be able to go into their territory and be able to speak. So it's kind of therapeutic in that way, too.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll probably message you on Facebook, too.
Oh, please do. Feel free. Feel free. We're always up to something. You know, we do products to help our friends in the movement. We do all kinds of things. And I honestly love messages. So I love talking to our warriors and getting to know them. So feel free to. And if you have any questions or even just need some advice or just someone to talk to, feel free to hit me up. And that goes for anybody listening today. That's always been the way I am. You know that about me. I love talking to y'all. My daughter tells me she has no idea how I find the time to respond to everybody that talks to me. But somehow I do because I love you guys. So that is genuine.
Oh, well, thank you.
Hey, Lynette.
Well, thank you for calling in. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, I just wanted to give her a kudos to her and her husband just for, you know, being part of the medical community and kind of just questioning the status quo. We need more people like that.
Yes,
Thank
yes, and that's why I say bring your friends.
Yes, bring your friends.
Bring your friends with you.
It's a little sad, too, because having been a labor and delivery nurse for
Oh, wow, yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
You see a lot. I don't know if y'all can hear me or not. I can't hear any of y'all.
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, there we go. I think somebody else got dropped. I don't know what happened. Okay. All right, I see. This Amber Smith is on here with me right now, you guys, and I'm going to bring Tia Severino back on with us to end out the last about 9 or 10 minutes of the show. Welcome back, Tia.
Hi, Lynette. Hi, Amber.
What's up, buddy?
Hi, Tia.
Hey, just to the topic of your last guest, I want to say, you know, becoming an activist, it's just kind of something that happens. You know, it's like a bug almost, you know. And if you want to learn how to be a good activist, well, take a look around you and see the people who are doing something that you feel is effective and start by modeling them. You know, it's not that hard. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's not, you know, 1988. We've got a lot of ammunition now that we never had available before. So find someone that you think is doing something fantastic and just start modeling them. Even cozy up to them. If you can friend me, I'll give you, you know, I'm more than happy to talk to people. And we need as many people out there, Sharon, on a one-to-one basis. A lot of times people need to be an activist. They have to do something big. No, you don't. We need people going up to people in the grocery store, moms in the grocery store with young kids and saying, hey, you know, can I share some information with you? That's activism. You don't have to be on a stage in front of hundreds of people. You know, you don't have to have a video blog or a radio show. Really, we need people every day going up to people and saying, hey, can I talk to you about something? Okay, there's this great big hope.
That's real activism too. I mean, I feel like a lot of the times, you know, on social media, as wonderful as it is, we're almost preaching to the choir because we just have so many like-minded friends, and it's just kind of a broken record. I mean, the real activism is going out there and speaking to the strangers and people who don't know or who aren't aware that the vaccines are dangerous because, you know, before I even got pregnant, I didn't even think about vaccines, and you just grow up with them, and that's just something that you do, and you don't think any different, you know?
Yeah, so we have a lot of cognitive dissonance to break through with the majority of people that are out there that just haven't even, they might have heard whispers by now, but, you know. But let's talk about the ASIP meeting for a minute.
Hey, man, I'm so jealous of everyone that can attend.
Well, I love it. It's so boring and awesome at the same time, huh, Tia?
Well, I prepared for the last one by watching my house plants grow. Not kidding. It is boring.
No, true that.
It's boring and maddening at the same time. But if you recall, you know, Lynette, when we were wrapping up the first day, we had a conversation. We were actually live on Peeps, if you remember, when I said, we've got to get more people. This is the way to protest. Standing outside with signs, God bless the people that are doing that, but it's not getting the impact we need. We need to be able to be in their face. And I'm so excited that you know, vision is coming to fruition with, you know, I don't know if 200 people will show up. That's a big crowd. I think they're going to probably panic if they see that many anti-vaxxers walk in. But even if we got half of that, even if we got a third of that, I mean, if we could just double our numbers every time, I think
exactly.
Del, it was like 7 or 8, maybe 9 in February, and then we had 20 almost this last time.
Yep.
We walked in there with 40, 60, 80, 100. Oh, my God. They will not know what to do.
We end up with about half. Yeah, we end up with about half of what says they're going to come. I usually put up an event, and last time about 40 said they were going to show up, and we had about 20. This time we have about 180 who say they may show up. So we'll probably have somewhere around, hopefully 80 to 100. I'm being optimistic here, throwing it up into the universe to God. But I really hope that we get at least that many. I want to bring so many people with us that they have to bring in extra chairs to accommodate. I believe that that's the way this should go down. You know, I mean, it just really is. And Tia, you did a beautiful job.
Make sure that we get all the seats and the scientists and the pharma people have to stand.
That's right. That's right. Hey, watching their facial expressions while we're talking. Tia, there's going to be a few of them that I'm going to find and have a conversation with when we go back this time who were behind us while we were talking. Because sitting behind us laughing and rolling their eyes while we're telling our heartfelt truths about our children, that really upset me. And I'm going to talk to them with love in my heart. I'm not going to let them change who I am, but I am going to talk to them because I felt like that was really disrespectful. And you're on camera, number one, you moron. You know what I'm saying? Like, hello. I mean,
you know what?
You know what? Really don't.
You know what, their judgment of you speaks nothing of you. It speaks volumes of them.
Correct.
I had a good old time in there, y'all. I had a good old time in there. I love the way they look at me because they're not used to seeing people like me. They're really not. So it shakes things up a little bit because they're used to people in their little suits and they're used to people like them. When people like me walk in there, they're like, yeah, they're like, oh, what the hell is going on? What brought this crazy freak out of their house? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, crap, shit's hitting the fan. Now the freaks are showing up.
Well, they need to know, you know.
You remember they sent me an email, right, thanking me for coming and bringing my son, and they made a statement in the email that we realize that when one parent like you stands up and speaks that that you're representing, you know, hundreds of moms. Yeah. And so I would, you know, my plan is to say, oh, by the way, thanks for the email. You're right. When one of us speaks, we're speaking for hundreds. Well, I brought some of them.
Yeah.
I brought some of them.
And that's something that's right. I hope we get enough people in the room. Yes, I want to get enough people in the room that one of us can actually say at the end of our comment something to the point of how many people are in here today because of vaccine injury. Because if you could get people to raise their hands, and that's on camera, yes, please, or stand up even.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Or stand up even. This
remember how
this is seen around the world.
Well, every time Vax showed, Del would ask members of the audience to stand if they had a loved one with a vaccine injury.
Yes, and it gives you goosebumps, yes, you feel it. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Yeah. I'm telling you guys, this has been something I've been passionate about ever since I first understood that I was allowed to be there. I went to a protest outside of one of these meetings and had no idea the meeting was taking place inside. I just knew the protest was happening. And then I found out, oh crap, there's a meeting going on where we actually get to hear this stuff. So from then on out, it was like, all right, when's this happening? I literally have from now until 2022 printed out on the date stuck to my wall. Because I'm ready for this, you know what I mean? And they don't want people like us in there. I'm about to do my hair up another crazy color. That's right. I'm about to do my hair up another crazy color or 2 or 3, and hook it up and get ready to make sure they can see me pretty well, and take my brand of activism in there and do it up. I mean, I love getting in there, and I think that actually I think I'm going to do a little bit maybe fire.
Represent our freedoms of Americans that we should have. Or the flame of
ideas.
A flame, color of flames of a crazy mother bear who's on fire for her children.
Oh, y'all know I've been on fire for way too long.
Fury,
way
right?
too long.
Hell has no fury.
Well, listen, ladies. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today. We've got about 60 seconds left.
It was super fun to be on with you, Lynette. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I was about
definitely.
to warn you,
You
you're
ladies
about to run out of time.
Oh, yeah, you know how it is, girl. They be getting me if I run over, too. Well, I love you guys. Y'all have an amazing day. I will see you very, very soon, Tia. Can't wait to hug your neck again. And give Luke a big old smoochie for me. And we will talk to you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye, ladies.